Oh, hello. There we are. Good morning. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. Prince Charles is here this morning as well. Coming up today, talk a little Terps, college hoops, as some of the local teams start transitioning into the postseason. Patrick Stevens will join us in just a bit. And also this morning, Joel Corry, former NFL agent, now with CBS Sports.com. He wrote a piece with a suggestion for a contract that he thinks would work or should work for Lamar Jackson. Maybe it was just a suggestion. Actually, at the end of the column, he says, I don't know that Lamar Jackson would find this appealing because it's not fully guaranteed, and we just don't know if it's down to like fully guaranteed or nothing for Lamar Jackson. So we'll talk about that with Joel Corry this morning as well. If you've not picked up the print issue of Press Box, you should go do that right now. It's available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms. Any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box, you can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Gunnar Henderson on the cover as Luke Jackson dives in and finds out a little bit more about the meteoric rise for the top prospect in baseball and favorite to win Rookie of the Year in the American League. Is that your mic? Is that what that is?
Yes, it is.
I don't like that. That's not as bad. We had an issue on Friday where it sounded like there was a really bad cord, but that doesn't sound great. We need to test. Do me a favor. Try plugging in the cord from the extra mic and seeing if that makes it go away. And if it does, then we'll deal with that. If not, hey, we're always trying to figure out what's going on around these parts, and I never know what she's doing up there, back there. Mom, the meatloaf. That's where I am at this point. All right. A couple of things at the top of the show. One, I don't know what you did because you're still plugged into the other cord. I'm saying take your mic.
Well, I was just going to see if maybe
plug it into that cord.
Yeah.
And see what happens. That's what I wanted to know. Although when you unplug whatever you, all right, you know what? I regret this already. This is on me. It's on me. On me. I'm the problem here. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. At tea time, everybody agrees. So, I don't know what. All right. It's very distracting now. It's very distracting. I can't just do the damn show. That's still it's still your mic is not plugged into that cord. That's what I take your mic, plug it into that cord, see what happens. I'm trying to figure this whole thing out. I still hear terrible interference. All right, that's the answer. So I don't know what's going on. Right. We will deal with it after the show.
Okay.
We will deal with this problem after the show. That's when we will handle it. Take everything back to normal. Take everything back the way it was. We could use an engineer. If you have engineering
everything's
skills,
muted. Well, at least my two mics are muted now.
I still hear it. If you have engineering skills, we could use you. That's what I'm trying to say. We could use you because this is not our strength. The way that these things get solved typically is after the show, I just play with things until it works. That's the way it goes. And then once it works, I say, it works. Don't know what happened. Don't know why it happened, but it works. So let's just deal with it. That's our process. That is our artistic process here at GCR. Don't know why something works, but if we can make it work, we deal with it. That's where we are. This does not work because it creates interference. That is a problem. All right. Here, turn that off. Turn that off. Let me see what just talking to the other microphone. This is the type of stuff that I need you to be able to do without me bringing the show to a halt. Just like solve it on your own.
All right. How's it going?
So that sounds great.
It does sound great.
So just take that off. Right, okay. And use that. Got it? All right. And the next step, we don't do this. Now, a couple things. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't believe somebody stayed through all that. I can't believe any of you were like, I'll see. Hold up. Let him cook. I can't believe any of you would put up with that nonsense.
Everyone's thinking, when are we going to get to the Lamar?
Right. I mean, like,
Wonderful.
anything that's content related. Anything at all, they would settle for. Instead of just me barking about the microphones, they would settle for any ounce of content.
This feels great.
Yeah. All right. Good for you. All right. Now, a couple of things. One, I had a lot of people, including people in my real life, that reached out to me. I guess on the Mike Florio program yesterday, he alluded to the idea of Lamar Jackson and not having an agent again. Mike Florio, I think more than anyone else in the media, has been personally offended by Lamar Jackson not having an agent. And I can't figure out if that's because Mike Florio feels like he's connected enough with all of the agents that if Lamar had an agent, he'd be getting like information, and because Lamar doesn't, he can't get any. Like, I can't figure out what Mike Florio's concern is. To the point, I think you've heard me say, I think Lamar Jackson should have an agent, but that's his call. Like, it doesn't affect anybody else in any way. Is it my opinion that Lamar Jackson would have been well served having an agent? Of course. But the notion, anything we try to say to follow that up is poppycock. To wit, on this Mike Florio program, they reference some sort of shoe deal that Lamar Jackson could have had. Now, to be clear, I don't know specifically what Mike Florio was alluding to. I don't. I have heard plenty of things about advertising, spokesperson, whatever you want to call it, opportunities that Lamar Jackson has not taken. We all know that he did a deal with Oakley, but I have heard plenty about other opportunities that Lamar Jackson didn't do. I think we've spoken about one with a significant fast food chain that was declined. I might know about this shoe deal thing. I definitely know about another company, a significant company, that tried to give Lamar Jackson a lot of money for a very minimal amount of exposure. I have no idea in what world you believe that the difference in something like that is an agent. Like, it's preposterous that you suggest that Lamar Jackson is missing out on endorsement money because he doesn't have an agent. Every single one of those deals could have gone through without Lamar Jackson having an agent. They were all on the table. Every single one of them. For whatever reason, Lamar's family, whatever it was, declined a number of them. Why he declined some and took the Oakley deal, I don't know. I can't give you that answer. But we just say nonsensical things. Mike Florio is, you can have whatever opinion you want to have about him. He's not a stupid person. If I remember correctly, Mike Florio passed the bar as a lawyer. He's not dumb. I don't know why he just says these things as if they can't be checked. His opinion might be that an agent would pressure Lamar more to take a deal. That might be your opinion. But there is no world in which Lamar couldn't get a deal with a shoe company because he doesn't have an agent. Do you know how patently absurd that is to suggest? Well, if you don't have an agent, I tell you what, we wanted to give you a lot of money, but if you don't have an agent, we're just not going to. That is not the type of person that we want to have representing us here at Steve's Shoes. Do you know how ridiculous that is? Like, do your brain operate in a way that you can even give a second of thought to the absurdity of that? And this isn't a personal shot at Mike Florio. I like Ish Mike. I mean, we're fine. He gets caught up on a lot of really strange things that he's obsessive over. And sort of, like whenever somebody else reports something, one of his bits is say, well, they leaked it. They leaked it to him. Whereas when he reports something, he never says, well, it was leaked to me. Like, he always tries to take a shot at somebody else getting information because he didn't get it. Mike, I don't think Mike's going to watch this. I love you. God bless you. You created quite a thing for yourself. It's incredible. But whatever the personal reasons are that you're so bothered by Lamar Jackson not having an agent, don't speak to anything similar to reality when it comes to why Lamar Jackson wouldn't have a shoe deal. In fact, if Lamar Jackson doesn't want a shoe deal and you're convinced that an agent would have forced him to take a shoe deal, then the problem would be having an agent. Because they would be forcing someone to do something they don't want to do. It just doesn't make sense. When you hold it up to the most minimal amount of scrutiny, it doesn't become logical. I don't know why Lamar Jackson is prioritized. Here's part of the issue for Ravens fans. Ravens fans in their heart believe, well, if Lamar, and I've had many of them say this to me, if Lamar would have just taken some of these marketing deals, then maybe he wouldn't be as hell-bent about getting a fully guaranteed contract. 2 + 7 does not equal 4. You're trying to make square peg fit in round hole. There is no parallel between these things. And for the umpteenth time, whenever we get into conversations about this Lamar Jackson situation, I hear from someone who brings back up, yesterday I was in a deep conversation with someone, and it was about how they went back into the world where, well, you can't have somebody taking up 20% of your salary. The Ravens are not fighting with Lamar Jackson about how much money they're going to pay him. There is no dispute about that. They know the same thing the rest of us know, that this statistic that you all have held up as being somehow noteworthy is nonsense. That Patrick Mahomes was the first ever quarterback to have more than, I think, 15% of the salary cap and win a Super Bowl. They know what we know, which is that number is nonsense because all it really says is Tom Brady took favorable deals because he was married to a billionaire and the Patriots were giving him money through his charitable foundation. If Tom Brady was making market value, half of the last 10 Super Bowls would have won by quarterbacks who were taking up more than 15% or whatever the number, and I can't remember exactly what, 18, whatever it is, percent of the salary cap. That number doesn't tell you not to pay your quarterbacks. That number tells you try to get a quarterback who's married to a billionaire, if possible. I mean, I don't know if we can introduce Lamar Jackson to Jeff Bezos at this point, see if maybe they could hit it off in some sort of way. Or Giselle's available.
Well, if they hit it off,
whoa, easier. Though, do you think that?
If they hit it off too much, Bezos is going to buy the Commanders.
Well, and then Dan Snyder won't allow him to buy the Commanders. So
is it going to be up to him? How much longer?
I don't know. Another story came out this morning from ESPN about. Not going to believe this. Dan Snyder, maybe not a good guy. Crazy. I'm starting to think there might be some questions about that fella. And like this
might
is
need an investigation.
It's so sad when you get to the part where they're like, it's a $55 million bank fraud allegation. Everybody's just like, yeah, I don't know.
Is that the worst thing he's done?
It's a Tuesday.
I mean, if we're being honest, like they all kind of do that, right? Like that's where we are with Dan Snyder, is that we're not even really moved by an allegation of $55 million worth of bank fraud. We're just sort of like, like
it's the Snyder.
Read the comments. They're like, I mean, everybody does that. It's such a world that we live in. Anyway, the moral of the story being, like, we could try to see if maybe he would be interested in Giselle. I don't know. But the point is that that's not the problem here. The problem isn't the Ravens figuring out how much money they should pay Lamar Jackson. They know what the cost is. They understand that. They get that a significant percentage of their salary cap is going to have to be soaked up by Lamar Jackson because they understand the risk on the other side. I said this to somebody. The sauce moving forward for winning a Super Bowl is have quarterback draft well. The Chiefs did that. When they moved on from Tyreek Hill, everybody thought they were going to take a step back. I certainly thought they were going to take a step back. Not significantly, but that they weren't individually the team to beat in the AFC without Tyreek Hill. They didn't make up for it at the wide receiver position at all. But where they made up for it is drafting well, is drafting Trent McDuffie and drafting Nick Bolton and drafting really quality players. They had a significant draft to help make up the difference. Meanwhile, the New York Jets had one of the best drafts in modern history, right? They found the offensive and defensive rookies of the year. I think we did a tidbit about how that never happens.
It's happened like twice. Maybe?
And doesn't even count Breece Hall, who looks like a superstar as well. The Jets had a historic draft. And what did they have to show for it?
No quarterbacks.
7 wins because they have no quarterback. The sauce is have quarterback, draft well. Now,
draft Sauce Gardner.
That would be I would do that, but you got to have quarterback too. You have to have both things. You can't draft well, no quarterback. That's not going to help you. You have to draft well, have quarterback. That's the sauce. The price of the quarterback we're obsessed with. I had somebody attempt to sell me that, well, if you can keep that cost under 13%, then maybe when your quarterback that goes down, you can survive it. No, you can't. No, you can't. You can't use that salary cap money in order to survive losing your quarterback. It cannot be done. Your quarterback is sucking up 20% of your salary cap. Your quarterback is sucking up 10% of your salary cap. If you lose your quarterback, you're effed. I am aware. Once upon a time, Nick Foles won a Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles. That did happen. You have one.
And Case Keenum and Blake Bortles were in that conference championship. That won't happen that much.
That will very unlikely for that to be happening. You have one example. One. In modern in the era of need quarterback, you have one example of a team that was able to survive losing their quarterback and make the Super Bowl, more or less win it. That's not the guiding light. The guiding light is very simple. Have quarterback. That's it. The price of the quarterback, irrelevant. Have quarterback. Now, as I've said a million times, yes, it's possible the Ravens could move on and draft quarterback and have quarterback. It's possible. I can't say that they couldn't do that. If they move into the top 10, they take whoever it is, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, whatever. Like, if they could absolutely find the next superstar quarterback.
But when you already have one.
The price is the thing we all get hung up on. They're not even debating about the price. They know. They're debating about back-end contract flexibility. That's what this debate is about. And really what it's about is holding the line. It's about Steve Bisciotti not wanting to give away a fully guaranteed contract because the NFL owners don't want him to. But if you wanted to be more charitable, you would say it's about back-end contract flexibility. It's about the ability to maneuver in the fourth or fifth year of a deal in case something were to dramatically go wrong. Insurance, if you will. Which, to some extent, you could argue that you understand. Like, it makes sense that you would want that to be the case. Do you know how badly something has to go wrong in order for you to get there? It's what we keep saying. To this point, literally no quarterback that has gotten this type of contract has ever not gotten all of the money. Flip, more often than not, overwhelmingly more often than not, you go back to that quarterback and give them more money to try to buy yourself some flexibility in the cap otherwise. That's what you're fighting over. These other things are irrelevant. This continued obsession that we have over an agent is weird. Lamar Jackson can make his choices. When someone suggests the NFLPA is holding the Ravens hostage because of their being hell-bent, Lamar Jackson has chosen that. That's what he wants. You wish that Lamar Jackson's obligation was to help the Ravens as much as possible. Be nice, right? If you're a fan of a team, that would be nice. I wish Lamar Jackson only wanted to play for $1 million. That would be cool, right? Like, then you'd have a lot more money that you could spread around. Why does anyone ever want money? For that sake, why is it that Roquan Smith wanted $20 million? Why couldn't he have just wanted $1 million to play football? Wait, how much do we do this? Why is it that it's Lamar's obligation to not get market value? What about, say, Mark Andrews? Why did he have to take as much money as he did? Why couldn't he have taken $5 million less? How far is the length that we're willing to go with this? We keep trying to do anything other than deal with the thing. The thing is, why is it that the Ravens don't want to give fully guaranteed money to Lamar Jackson? What are they afraid of? Well, I think I know the answer. I think they're afraid of walking into the owners' meetings next year and getting stink-eyed. They don't want that. They saw that Jimmy Haslam was treated as a pariah because of what he did. It's, again, very weird that no one brings up the Vikings with all of this. So strange. White's different about these two things. So weird how the obsession is with Deshaun Watson. Well, that's just an anomaly. Well, what about the other fully guaranteed contract that was given out? Why do we pretend like that didn't happen? I don't get it. Well, but it was only for 3 years. It was market value for the quarterback that they signed. Kirk Cousins didn't take less money from the Vikings than he could have gotten somewhere else in order to get it fully guaranteed. It wasn't like he had was it 384? Was that the number? You're the Vikings fan.
So,
I believe it was something like that.
That sounds true.
It wasn't like he took 384 to get it fully guaranteed from the Vikings when he could have had 120 somewhere else. I had somebody talking to me about that. Well, if the players want fully guaranteed money, they're going to have to take less in the contracts. That's factually not accurate. We already have 2 examples. 2 teams who understood they needed quarterbacks. To be fair, these wouldn't be the quarterbacks I would have done it with. But I get it. It's sort of what I try to explain to people. The actual market value of a quarterback is absurdly more than this amount of money. Because all of the teams know the same thing. The sauce is have quarterback, have chance. The actual tangible, like dollars, your quarterback is probably worth more than 50% of your cap space. Because, again, if you don't have one, you're in hell.
You don't think the Chiefs would tell you that? That Pat Mahomes is worth more?
Imagine. They ran off best receiver in football. Imagine how many other guys they would. Like, there's not anyone else they wouldn't run off in order to keep Patrick Mahomes. Because they know, have quarterback, have chance. And, again, we all know Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. Nobody's debating which guy you'd rather have. Like, we all understand that. But in order to have a chance to beat Patrick Mahomes, you must have quarterback to have chance. We wag the dog over this. We get obsessed over, well, what about the shoe deal? He could have had a shoe deal. Yes, he could have had a shoe deal. For whatever reason, he chose not to. I don't know what you're angry about. It's like we're looking for something else. Let's be angry at the NFLPA. Let's be angry about Lamar not having an agent. Let's be angry. This comes down to one simple thing. Do the Ravens want to pay Lamar Jackson or not? And a lot of people are fine with the idea of them not. That's cool. I can't tell you what your opinion should be about the subject. Griffin likes watching Jake Paul box. A lot of people have a lot of dumb opinions.
Whoa.
That's insanely stupid, but that's what you do. God bless you. I don't know what to say. You're not the only one. That's the terrifying part. Country's going to hell. That's where we are.
Watched Creed 1 for the first time last night.
By the way,
that was
it's beautiful. It's
so much better than Jake Paul fighting.
My God. I'm actually offended that you would even put the 2 in the same sentence. Christ. Oh. You going to go see Creed 3 when it comes out this week?
Yeah. Pretty excited.
They're excited about it. Very excited about it. Also,
both seem to be in their closing chapters, Jake Paul's boxing career and the Creed trilogy. It looks like a good movie for sure, but
have they said they're not doing another one?
I don't know. Yeah.
Why wouldn't they do it? I don't understand why they wouldn't do another one.
No, I think this is
unless people think this is bad. I don't know.
Because I read somewhere that Michael B. Jordan wants to start moving on with other projects and such. So,
well, he's done a lot of other. It's not like doing the Creed movies has kept him from doing other projects.
It sounded like his tone was
it's
time.
You're familiar with Killmonger? Like, he's done a lot of things.
I thought it was The Wire for a second. Wait,
he's going back? Yeah. Or are they doing an origin story?
Well, because Avon Barksdale was in it, and then
what?
In Creed 1.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, Wood Harris, sure. Yeah, Wood Harris. It was awesome. I love that guy. I always thought that there was going to be like a Lil Duke. I think that's the weird part is that the sparring, the Lil Duke from the first Creed movie, I always thought they would bring back as an actual opponent for Donnie at some point, but they never did, which was yes, correct. And all of a sudden we're now convinced that there's not going to be a Creed. I would have thought they would have like said that publicly at this point if they were certain that there was not going to be a Creed 4. I don't know why they wouldn't market it that way. This is the end or something like that. I just don't know what else they'd be doing with it. Why? Who wants to turn down money? Like, hey, we got a $500 million project on our hands. Nah.
Maybe there's just no plans for it at the moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're working on the next film yet, but they've been spacing these out. Like, it's been taking 3 years. It's not like they've been pumping them out every year or two. I don't know how we got here from the conversation that we were having about Lamar.
Earlier this month, someone confirmed there would for sure be a Creed 4.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't make sense to me.
I think it's kind of interesting that it's kind of following the same story arc as like Rocky.
Well, yes, that would be the idea.
He's fighting like the Clubber Lang-esque in the third one, and then like maybe we see him go.
We already did the Dolph Lundgren thing, and we already did Drago in Creed 2. So We can't really replicate Rocky 4 and Creed 4. We're going to have to go
or
a
they just
different
could.
way. I mean, they could, sure. Absolutely they could. Or they could do anything else because they all work. Well, I have to wait until I watch this one, and then we'll find out how I feel about it. And again, I thought Creed 1 was better than Creed 2, but Creed 2 was just fine. It was still better than 90% of the things that are produced in the world. It was totally fine, and I'm sure that's how Creed 3 will go, even though I'm nervous about a Rocky movie without Rocky. It's weird. Like, it's a strange conundrum that we're doing the first ever Rocky movie without Rocky. All of a sudden, we're doing this, and I get it. But back to the point. We are obsessed with the idea of Lamar Jackson as agent. We are doing anything other than just dealing with the problem. We're dealing with the problem of whether or not it makes sense ultimately to pay a fully guaranteed contract to a quarterback versus we're living in a world where you may or may not have a quarterback. That's what this comes down to. You can try to wag the dog all you want about agents and the Players Association. You can wag the dog all day. But at the end of this, there's one thing. There's two things, and I'll bring this up with Joel Corry. The second part of it is there a team that's willing to do it? And as I pointed out yesterday, what's happened, it's so rare for any quarterback worth the salt to end up on the free market, quote unquote. And I get it. Even Deshaun Watson wasn't on the free market. He was just essentially on the free market because we knew that the Texans were moving on from him. The desperation of teams with no quarterbacks reeks. And as we pointed out, there are at most 16 to 18 teams that aren't desperate at quarterback right now. At most. And you got to squint a little bit on some of those. Some of those are teams that should be desperate at quarterback, but
they just can't.
Can't yet, right? Like, can't yet say they're definitely desperate at quarterback. So I'm giving it 16 to 18 that aren't, but that's at the most. So of the next 14 to 16 teams that would be desperate at quarterback, there are 4 first-round quarterbacks available. 4 of those teams will address the position via a first-round quarterback. That still leaves you with 10 to 12 teams that are utterly desperate at quarterback. To be clear, some of those teams will absolutely prioritize holding the line over trying to win a Super Bowl. They won't announce that to their fan base, but whatever team signs up for Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback next season is telling you, we don't care as much about winning a Super Bowl as we do about staying in line. The truth is that whatever team does that with Derek Carr is doing the same thing, but we're not, for whatever reason, allowed. We're still supposed to pretend like Derek Carr is a team that a quarterback that you win a Super Bowl with. I don't know what that bid is all about. I don't know why people are so, and maybe it's just because people think there's a chance he could end up in Baltimore, but people get very offended when you acknowledge that Derek Carr is not the guy you're winning a Super Bowl with. He's not that dude.
Because he's such a nice guy and
I guess.
press conferences.
I guess. I don't know what it is. It's weird, man. It's weird. Or it's because of an obsession with statistics, right? Like, well, look at these numbers. Look at the.
Because he's thrown for 4,000 yards before?
I guess. I don't know. It's weird. You're not allowed to say it. Whenever you bring it up, people get very offended. Well, imagine, you don't think the Jets would be better with Derek Carr? Yes, I do. I don't think they're winning a Super Bowl. They had a hell of a roster. They're intriguing. I don't think you can win a Super Bowl. Not in this AFC currently, not a chance. If the Jets were in the NFC with Derek Carr.
Can't win their division with Derek Carr.
I'm not going to say can't.
I don't think
I'm not going to say can't. They wouldn't be the favorites.
Yeah.
But, football's football, and Josh Allen could get hurt. The Bills, there's things that could happen. The team that does it with Derek Carr is not really trying to win the Super Bowl. Now, somebody would say, what about an NFC team? The NFC's wide open. If an NFC team got Derek Carr, they might be one of the top 5. Sure. By the process of elimination, I guess.
He's
I don't know.
Second best quarterback.
Yeah, it's possible. The NFC is a complete crapshoot.
But even if, say, this doesn't, makes, financial sense, but say the 49ers signed Derek Carr. That's a lateral move, it feels like.
It for the most part, right?
It feels lateral.
I don't disagree that it feels lateral. At the same time,
does it feel like the
49ers are the one team that showed that they could load up, absolutely load up. I was debating this with somebody yesterday. If you're the Saints, why would you feel like you have to go all in? Why you could just maybe be the team that gets Derek Carr and tries to be like the 49ers. And I was like, in what world? I like Chris Olave. But there's no Christian McCaffrey there. There's no George Kittle. And that defense
there's no defense. Yeah,
is good, but it ain't the 49ers defense. Yeah. Like, in what world do you think that Derek Carr makes you replicate the 49ers in some sort of way? By default, again, by far the best situation. If you had Derek Carr and the Saints, you've got the best quarterback in the division by far for the moment. But it's just you're shuffling the deck chairs. You're not trying. You're trying. You're pacifying the idea that, look, there were people in Washington that were excited about Carson Wentz last year. You're not trying. You're just trying. When we say all it takes is one team, yeah, all it takes is one team. But the point is that there are going to be, right now, nobody's drafted a quarterback yet. So right now, there's 14 to 16 desperate teams in the position. A few of them absolutely would say we would rather lose than give out a fully guaranteed contract and piss off other owners. There's no doubt that other owners feel that way. But all 14 of them? All 16 of them? I don't believe that. I don't believe it for a second. So we can keep obsessing over it. We can keep talking about shoe deals, and we can keep talking about whatever else you want to talk about. But at the end, the Ravens have one decision to make. Do you want to have a quarterback or not? Do you want to go back to the drawing board? Go back to the drawing board, I guess. Like I said, it could work out. It's possible. Anything's possible. It's America, right? Like, who knows what's possible? Is it something that I'm interested in signing up for? No, not at all. But it goes, like, there's option 1, Lamar Jackson. There's option 2, draft a quarterback. And then somewhere down here is stopgap quarterback. There's no world in which I'm talking about Derek Carr or Geno Smith or any of the get the entire F out of here with that. This isn't great, but it's a whole lot better than this. Even though that you can fall flat on your face with this. Like, again, we've convinced ourselves that, well, you just draft your next quarterback. Right, and you could end up with Josh Rosen.
Right.
Or Sam Darnold. Or we can keep going. How'd the rest of the class besides Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson do that year? Yeah, Baker Mayfield had a good season. You could end up with Baker Mayfield. Get one good season out of him. You could end up with Jameis Winston. You can end up with we can go on for forever. Yes, you could find Jalen Hurts. Possibly.
Marcus Mariota was just cut.
Marcus Mariota. You could find him. That's where you are. It's a crapshoot because you want cap flexibility, because you're mad that Lamar Jackson wouldn't take endorsement money and then decide that he can do less in a contract because he's got endorsement money. I don't know what to tell you, man. Again, it'd be neat. It'd be a neat story if Lamar Jackson was the guy that was like, hey, man, I'm so hell-bent on winning the Super Bowl that I don't care about money. That'd be cool, right? It would make us feel good.
But why should he?
That's the that's the part. There is no reason. There's absolutely zero reason for him to do that, and it would this is the other thing, too, is that people miss out on it. It would be problematic. Tom Brady was able to go back to the NFLPA and say, get bent. I'm married to a billionaire. I don't care. You can be as mad as you want to be about me. And somebody can say, well, why does the NFLPA care? There's a salary floor. All teams have to spend a certain amount of money. It's the rising tides raise ships. Like they want guys to get top-end money because then it makes all players look more valuable by proxy. If that guy is more of a marketable star, the guys that are around him become more marketable stars. Nobody on the Ravens is thinking, hey, if Lamar Jackson's gone, then there's more of the pie to go around for us. No one feels that way. Not one. We'll have this conversation again tomorrow for what it's. I mean, that's just where we are.
The thought in the locker room is if he's gone, we're mid. Like,
yes,
we're just middle of the road.
Correct. We're effed. They wouldn't say that because it would be disrespectful to whoever the guy is that, they bring in.
It's the mindset and feeling of if we don't bring him back,
yep,
we're playing games and running through going through the motions.
Yep. What is
There's
the
no
point of any of this?
excitement to it.
No one, like this thought process of, well, these other guys don't really want one person sinking 20% of the salary cap. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Because it makes them feel like they have a chance. That's exactly what they want. I assure you, it's what they want.
They might have a little less money in their pocket, but it makes it easier to go to work.
Or they might end up being the guy that gets squeezed.
Yeah. It's harder to go to work every day with Marcus Mariota as a quarterback as opposed to Lamar Jackson.
There's no getting around it. It's no getting around it. Nobody wants to be on that team. Nobody wants to be on the team that has more cap space. Cap space will never, in a million years, be greater than quarterback. I mean, unless the NFL changes the rules. Like, at some point, the NFL could decide to go back to the era where the quarterbacks weren't the priority and where you could play defense and all that. I'd be very surprised by it. But unless the NFL does that, there will never be a day where cap space is more valuable than quarterback. Today's show also brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers. So much available for you right now. In fact, baseball betting is here. Get up to 5 second chance bets, up to $50 each from PointBet, along with other great incentives and promos when you sign up at PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Baseball futures bets, season specials, player reward bets. They're already live in Maryland. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers now for your shot at winning big. When we come back in, we will switch gears, talk a little. We will get to more of this with Joel Corry from CBSSports.com, former NFL agent. But when we come back in, we'll talk some Terps, some hoops with Patrick Stevens. That's next, Glenn Clark Radio.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at over $60,000 and over $64,000 for lateral officers, with $10,000 signing bonuses available. Plus, cadets start at over $32,000. Great benefits are available, like medical, dental, and vision insurance, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days per calendar year with no limit, career advancement to more than 20 specialized units, and more, with further incentives for military service members and veterans. A passion for service, a career for life with the Baltimore County Police Department. Find out more at joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. Must be a United States citizen, have a valid driver's license, and a high school diploma or GED equivalent.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Orioles phenom Gunnar Henderson, breaking down how he was able to become the top prospect in baseball at such a young age and what could be next in his first full MLB season. Also inside, we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's college programs across the state, and Bo Smoka breaks down another year of wide receiver issues for the Ravens. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
There's something for everyone this February at Laurel Park. Come watch live horse racing every Friday through Sunday and join us on Saturday, February 18th for the Winter Stakes Spectacular, featuring 6 stakes races and $900,000 in purses, including the General George and Barbara Fritchie Stakes. The fun doesn't stop there. Stick around for our Winter Mardi Gras celebration with live music, delicious food and drinks, and a carnival atmosphere. Plus, don't miss out on President's Day holiday racing on Monday, February 20th. Visit laurelpark.com for more info. That's laurelpark.com for more. See you at the track.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
Check out PressBoxOnline.com every day to find daily winners and betting advice from Jeremy Kahn. And if you want some advice about life decisions that you probably shouldn't make, here's Glenn Clark.
Back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program. If you missed it last night, Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley caught up with the great Rick Dempsey. You can find it right now, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab. Go to YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. John from Little Rock chimed in this morning and says, Snyder charged the team $4.5 million for his plane logo. I mean, that's fair, right? So, yes, that's part of the story in this bank fraud allegation is that he recouped money by charging the team to put their logo on his personal plane, which, the weird part is, again, the response from everybody is just like, yeah, I don't know. That's not really all that big of a deal to me. Like, that's how bad Dan Snyder is. That we're $55 million of bank loan. We're just sort of like, I don't know. What's a little bank fraud among friends? Like, we are not moved by it because in comparison to everything else that we know about Dan Snyder, our answer is sort of just like, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't even register. It doesn't even show up. So there's that. All right, it's Tuesday. On Tuesdays, we talk college sports. Maryland gets a huge win on Senior Day, and a lot of local teams shift into postseason play. Joining us now, as he always does on Tuesdays, our friend, you follow him on Twitter at Discourse D1S Course. Read his stuff in the Washington Post and USA Lacrosse Magazine. He is Mr. Patrick Stevens, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Patrick, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm well, and as I listened to that last screed against everybody's favorite NFL owner, I thought to myself, you remember the whole Keith Olbermann worst person in the world
I
shtick?
do remember that. Yeah.
Was it really necessary when the answer was in front of us the whole time? Basically, at least the worst person in the sports world. Anyway.
I'm telling Patrick, this one is the most bizarre. It's $55 million of the bank fraud, and I'm telling it's being met with a like, there is no response to it at all, because how does it possibly compare to all of the other truly evil things we know about the man? Like, he's the worst human that we could ever possibly imagine, to the point where we're like, I don't know, bank fraud, not that big of a deal.
I mean, it's not so much that we're shrugging at it. It's like, why wouldn't he be doing it, right? Like, based on everything, like,
yes.
You sue, like, elderly grandmothers and whatnot for all this other stuff, like, whatever.
It just feels like a Tuesday. That's exactly where we are. And because it feels like a Tuesday, let's talk some college sports. Obviously, a phenomenal victory for Maryland on Sunday. I guess let's lay this thing out, because I'm guessing you've done a lot of work on the tiebreaker scenarios. In order to make sure they get a double bye, does it feel like they have to win both of these games on the road? If they were to just win one, does everybody beat everybody else still this week, and they're still probably in pretty good shape?
I'll be honest, I haven't gotten that far on it, just because when it comes to tiebreakers, usually I wait until we have like one set of games left as opposed to two, because there's just
too much,
a little bit too much there. But what I would say is this, is that they have single game victories over Indiana and Northwestern and Illinois, and they have a split with Michigan. So essentially, the only teams they don't need to be paired with are Rutgers and Iowa. And so essentially keep those teams out of there. And Michigan State, I suppose, but that won't be a tie. Michigan State, because that Minnesota game's now a no contest.
Right, they can't.
But they could end up getting a double bye, but it isn't going to be a tie with Maryland or anything. So, if I was Maryland, I'd go win at least one game this week. I don't think 11-9 will get the job done, but I do think that 12-8 probably will.
And this comes down to the proverbial unanswerable question. Like, there's no dispute. Like, 10-0 at home in conference play is an accomplishment. There's no way of getting. I can't try to knock that in any way. It's absolutely something. There is no doubt that it has something to do with the parity in the Big Ten this year. But even with that being said, these are good basketball teams. You handled your business. The question becomes, can you go win a game? Even Ohio State showed signs of life at home recently, right? Like, can you go win a game on the road against at least a competent basketball team, which to this point they haven't done yet this season?
They have not done it yet. And I felt like Ohio State was going to pick somebody off, right? Like, they almost had to beat somebody down the stretch. And then they got Illinois the other day. So I don't know whether that's good for Maryland or bad that Ohio State got that sort of token victory there.
Okay.
And, of course, then you've got the Penn State trip at the end, which I think we've all seen enough over the years of Maryland going into Penn State.
No doubt.
Basically, that series has been two games played like a half dozen times each. The Penn State comes to Maryland and just isn't quite good enough. And the Maryland goes to Penn State and lollygags around for a half and finds itself down and can't get back into it quite enough. So, can they go up there and just sort of hang around a little bit and maybe steal a game from the Nittany Lions? I mean, you look at what happened to Penn State the other night. I mean, a team that goes 9.5 minutes at the end of the game without making a field goal, that's a team that's inviting you to stick around a little bit. So I think if you're Maryland, you would love to be able to pick off one of these two. I heard a radio host in another market describe the net boost of going to Ohio State and winning, over this last month or so, as being like a Super Mario Brothers hit the question mark and the 1-up comes out.
Okay.
Basically like a team that isn't any good, but you get a benefit from it in terms of your profile. So, maybe that's the game that Maryland goes and wins, even though Ohio State really isn't that good.
Yeah.
Ultimately, as a lot of people like to remind me, the NCAA tournament isn't played on road courts.
Of course.
You don't play road games there. So, I do think there is something to be said for, hey, can you get something away from home? But they already have a Miami. And so they do have something of some value, and they'll obviously have a chance to get something of value next week when they head to Chicago.
And I think, to me, Patrick, the bigger question about what Maryland can do now, knowing they're not going to play another game on their home floor, is can they avoid these just wretched starts that we've seen from them on the road? Can they come out sharp, playing well? Because I do at this point accept that they are a better team than these teams they're facing. I believe, as much as everything is muddled in the Big Ten, I believe Maryland is a better team than Penn State and a better team than Ohio State. And I think they're as good as anybody they might face until, the Big Ten championship game. I think the difference away from home has regularly been that, we joke about Penn State not scoring for 9.5 minutes at the end of a game, but what about at the beginning of the game when Maryland is struggling so much?
And there have certainly been a few of those. Tennessee comes to mind as one of those.
Yep.
Michigan State. There have been
even
they've had their
Nebraska,
share of those.
Like they were in it, but they were struggling badly in the first half against Nebraska.
Yeah, that too. I think ultimately, they will have to solve that issue. And when you look at their numbers, let's face it, there's one number that sits there, and you look at it and you say, well, this is one big giant problem, and that's the 3-point shooting, which was not a problem the other night. I mean, they tied for their second most made 3-pointers ever, which you would not expect out of this particular team to be able to do that.
Nope.
You might remember the all-time winner was 17 against Missouri, Kansas City in the Mike Jones game back in 2006.
Wow, boy, it's so funny. I would not have guessed that, but now that you bring it up, I definitely remember that. Okay, there is no doubt.
Like he hit 9 of their 17 that night, and they won something like 101-52.
Well,
but aside from that trip down memory lane, I don't expect Maryland to shoot 14 of 22 from 3-point range again at all this season, because that is an outlier. Yeah. And if they want to make shots, or if they can make shots, I should say, that would be outside shots. That would go a long way towards sort of breaking up some of those choppy starts. It's just knock a few shots down, and suddenly things are going to open up a little bit more. Because if I was facing Maryland, I would certainly do everything I possibly could to keep Jameer Young out of the lane and take my chances from there. That's what I would build my defense around, because that's when Maryland gets dangerous, when he's able to do that.
Well, and try to get Juju Reese into foul trouble, right? Like those are the two.
That would help. That would help too. That would help too. But I think number one on the list is keep Young out of the lane and make him hit jumpers.
Two area teams we already know that, well, at least when they're playing in conference play. The one that's intriguing, all of a sudden, a Loyola team that looked lifeless for much of this season suddenly shows significant signs of life down the stretch. I don't think that there's a lot of opening for them to make a deep run in the Patriot League tournament, but what do you make about this sort of sudden explosion that we saw from the Greyhounds down the stretch?
Yeah, we'll start with the caveat that there's probably an expiration date on their season of Thursday, because if they beat Holy Cross tonight, then they go to Colgate, which has lost one conference game in its last 30-some outings. So in all likelihood, that's probably where things end, and they lost by 13 and by 34 in their 2 games against Colgate this season. But this is a Loyola team playing better. They won at Lehigh, who was a second-place team. They managed to scramble their way into this log jam in the conference standings by winning 4 of their last 5. You saw them smoke Holy Cross last week. They outlasted American in overtime. Yeah. I mean, 55 first half points for a team that I saw score 34 points in a game back in December.
Right.
In a game.
Right.
So this is a team that obviously has figured something out down the stretch. I think some of what we figured out is that the middle of that league beyond the top 2 or 3 teams is pretty much all the same. So and I also think that you've seen Deion Perry in particular come on pretty strong here toward the end of his freshman year. Made the all-rookie team, but you look at what he's done in those 5 games. The 4 wins, 28 points, 17, 27, and 22. That's going to help you a lot. So I think everybody kind of assumed that he was eventually going to emerge as the guy for this team, even as they had guys like Jalen Andrews and Kenneth Jones around. And I think that has finally kind of happened in a full-fledged sort of manner, as opposed to what we saw in December and early January, where there were 2 points, 4 points, 2 points. There was a goose egg against Boston University on the road. But basically, since late January, he has really figured things out. And starting really with that Bucknell game, he scored 20 points in that game at the end of January and got them a victory that day. And since then, they've been a better team, even in some of the losses. I mean, a 1-point loss to BU, lost by 6 at Army. The second Colgate game was more competitive. So at the very least, you look at that and say that at least that they improved over the course of a season that once looked really, really bleak.
Sure, no doubt. As far as Navy is concerned, they do lose to Colgate, but I noticed they played without Sean Yoder, and it was quite the battle. I would still think that they would go into the Patriot League tournament feeling like they have. I get that Colgate deserves to be the team to beat, but Navy certainly looks like a team that has as good a chance of anyone as beating them.
Well, Yoder got hurt in the victory over American last Wednesday, and so it was definitely kind of clear when that happened that it was uncertain whether he was going to play in that regular season finale. We'll see. We'll have a better sense of how serious that really is if he plays Thursday or not. But before that, Navy had won 10 out of 11 games. It had gotten itself on a nice roll, and frankly is playing about as well as anybody not named Colgate. I mean, I think if you were to line up who are the best teams, the teams that are playing the best in the Patriot League right now, it's probably Colgate, then Navy, and then maybe Loyola right after that. And Boston U's also playing pretty well. But I look at Navy and I see a team that gets to play at home for at least the first 2 rounds of the tournament. And I think that by itself is going to give them a decent shot at being able to at least get another crack at Colgate in a potential championship game a week from tomorrow.
That's exactly the way that I feel about it. I feel exactly the same. And then, go ahead.
And when you look at Navy, like when you think about what a service academy team is supposed to be, it's supposed to be seniors playing well at the end of their careers, right?
Yep.
Like more so than just about anybody else.
Yep.
And you have Daniel Deaver, Tyler Nelson, Sean Yoder when healthy, Christian Jones. I mean, Patrick Dorsey. You have guys largely playing well that have been in the program for 4 years. And, I think that's a real credit to Ed DeChellis for having managed to navigate all the things that he has, certainly with a rough stretch in the middle of the season this year, right at the start of league play when they lost 5 in a row. But also, I mean, this is a group of guys that is, this is a pandemic group, right? Like their first season would have been, their freshman year would have been leading into the pandemic. So to have been able to shepherd this group along and kind of maintain things is pretty impressive work on Ed's part.
Towson will begin the CAA tournament on Sunday night. Opponent to be determined. Obviously, they suffer a heartbreaker down in the second half. They kind of wilted against Charleston on Thursday night. I get the CAA tournament is weird, right? And maybe there's some world where you don't have to be the team going into the CAA tournament. You just have to figure out a way to win 3 games in 3 days. I don't know. I saw enough warts from Charleston in from Towson in big games this year that I don't know what makes me think that necessarily things are going to be different in D.C.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to give them credit for having not given up that Wilmington game 2 nights later.
Sure.
Because they were in great position to lose that game and basically locked down on the Seahawks down the stretch and were able to get that win. They get the 3 seed rather than the 4 seed. I'm not sure which of those is frankly better because now you are in Charleston's bracket for a possible semifinal. But they've played Charleston tough twice.
Both times, yeah.
And for the first time they fell behind early, forced overtime, and then lost by 2. And they were in it in the game down there last week up until the last couple minutes. You look at what they've done against Hofstra, a 4-point loss on the road and a dominant performance on Martin Luther King Day at home, and Hofstra hasn't lost since then. And so those are the top 2 teams. Those are the teams you're probably going to have to get through. At the end of the day, that was probably going to be the math no matter what. So, do I think Towson has the goods to be able to rip off 3 wins in a row? Well, they haven't done that since January, and it's been a kind of manageable schedule. I mean, they had William and Mary that they lost to on the road. They had a terrible weekend with that Drexel-William and Mary combo. But I do think that they're going to have a shot. And you've seen Charles Thompson playing reasonably well. You have Cam Holden. You have Nick Timberlake. Nigel Russell's been a nice plus for them this season. The question is, can they get enough guys playing well on a given night? And I don't know if that's going to happen on 3 consecutive nights. But I certainly wouldn't put it past Towson, which I do think is actually a pretty decent offensive team. I think there's probably a few more questions on the defensive end than the offensive end this year. That they should at least be able to give themselves a shot, which is really all that they really would want going into a season anyway.
That's fair. That's completely fair. All right, for time reasons, I'm going to fast forward to our game and just go ahead and play. Can Patrick Stevens name the MLB teams that this particular player has played for? And Patrick, I begin with someone that admittedly I did not realize had gotten to 4 teams, and this is tricky because it's overwhelmingly 1 and then just a couple at the end. A 5-time All-Star, Mike Sweeney is our first name.
Mike Sweeney.
Yeah, I did not have any clue. Yes.
So Kansas City and a whole lot of other teams.
Yeah, 3 other teams in the span of 2 years at the end of his career. Sorry. It was 3 years. 3 teams over 3 years at the end of his career, from 08 to 10.
So 3 other teams for Mike Sweeney?
Yeah, I knew.
And now was he in St. Louis?
Not in St. Louis, no.
I'm going to get him confused with Mark
Sweeney. Yeah, there's an issue there.
Was Mike Sweeney a Mariner?
Yes, he was. I have no idea why you remember that. Mike Sweeney was a Mariner in 2009 and then for the first half of 2010. I have no recollection of it whatsoever.
Let's just throw the Dodgers out.
No, I thought you might get the Phillies at the end of his career. In the end of 2010, he went to Philadelphia, and Oakland was the first stop after Kansas City.
Oakland was the next guess.
Yeah, and you know what? That was the only one of them that I even had a vague memory of. So then the other guy, 5 teams, again, some short stints in here, for someone who was a 3-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glove winner, 2-time Silver Slugger winner, and twice finished in the top 10 of MVP voting, Matt Kemp.
Matt Kemp, well, definitely the Dodgers.
Of course.
Definitely Atlanta.
Yes.
Definitely San Diego.
Yes. Those are the 3 that I remember.
And those are the 3, yeah, those are the 3 that were reasonably significant, right? Like, we're talking basically now 2 teams that are tacked on.
So you've got everything from 06 to 18, and because he had this sort of renaissance season in 18 with the Dodgers, then he finished his career with 2 stops in 19 and 20 that were short-lived.
Okay, did he have a Colorado cameo in there?
Yeah, he did. In the pandemic season, he spent 43 games with the Colorado Rockies. How you remember that, I have no clue.
I don't know, quite frankly. Yeah. And so there's one other team in there.
In 2019, he made 20 appearances with this particular team. He hit 200 in how many at-bats? In 60 at-bats with 1 home run.
Was he a Red?
Why? Why would you possibly know that? Why? Who are you? I don't understand this. What's your schedule look like this week, man?
Going to Loyola tonight. Will I be seeing you there?
I can't do tonight. Well, no, I'm not doing the game, so I can't go tonight. It's the only night this week where I don't have games, so I'm out.
Fair enough. So Holy Cross Loyola tonight, and then George Mason's home finale against Fordham tomorrow night. It looks like probably the Howard Norfolk State MEAC title game in the regular season.
Okay.
A lovely 9 p.m. tip on Thursday.
Oof.
And then the CAA tournament gets underway starting Friday. It's Pillow Fight Friday with the 12 and 13 seeds. 2:00 in D.C. We'll also be sliding over to VCU and GW on Saturday afternoon in the middle of that quadruple header. So
when you say 9:00 on Thursday, that isn't like to be determined after a women's game too, is it?
No, it's not. It's 9:00.
Okay,
9:00 for Tid.
All right, Very good. I'm starting to wonder if, like, on a senior night, it ends up being 9:45 or something like that. The game tips off.
No, it won't be that bad. Meanwhile, that same night, Morgan and Coppin play over at Hill Fieldhouse.
Absolutely. So. And I saw Coppin went on the road, won at Delaware State last night. So
Coppin went on the road to win at Delaware State. Coppin can still be the 6, 7, or 8 seed, and then Morgan State is locked into the 4 or 5 game already. Okay. So they're going to play Maryland Eastern Shore again in the quarterfinals of the MEAC tournament, no matter what happens in that Coppin game.
At Discourse, D1S Course is how you follow him on Twitter. Of course, the Washington Post, USA Lacrosse Magazine to see his stuff. Patrick Stevens, appreciate you, my friend. We'll talk again next Tuesday.
Awesome. Take care, Glenn.
It's Patrick Stevens with us every Tuesday here on GCR. Your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Bring us today's program. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Hour number 1 of today's program in the books. Still to come in just a minute. We're going to chat with Joel Corry, former NFL agent, CBSSports.com. He has a suggestion for a contract that he believes would work for Lamar Jackson. Although, admittedly, he's not sure that Lamar Jackson will listen to anything that isn't fully guaranteed, so we'll deal with that right now. Also, still to come this hour, I want to get to some more. I got a bunch of responses yesterday to the pitch clock stuff that we had. I want to go through some of those, that conversation that we had on yesterday's show. I want to make sure I get into that as well. But as I mentioned, joining us right now here on GCR, former NFL agent, now with CBSSports.com, he is our friend, Mr. Joel Corry, and he's back with us now on GCR. Joel, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you as always. Thank you so much for taking the time for us this morning.
Oh, no problem.
Joel, in reading the piece that you wrote and the suggestion, we'll get to the contract specifically, 2 of the big takeaways for me were, 1, are we at a point where Lamar Jackson will be willing to listen to anything that's not related to fully guaranteed? And for what it's worth, in my kind of minimal reporting, I was told at one point that it's not as I wasn't told what Stephen A. Smith was told, but I was told that it is not as black and white as it's fully guaranteed or nothing. Is your belief that, like, if there is a world in which he would do a deal that isn't fully guaranteed, the contract suggestion that you make is the one that makes the most sense?
Yeah, from his standpoint, because my whole thing is, if you're pushing for a fully guaranteed contract, first you got to look and see, is anyone else going to help you get there? I don't think any of the guys on rookie contracts will. I don't think Jalen Hurts gets one. I don't think Joe Burrow gets one, or Justin Herbert. So if the Ravens already think that Deshaun Watson's contract is an anomaly or an outlier, not getting any more help, then that makes it even more difficult to get the fully guaranteed contract. So you push forward initially in negotiations, and then you open the door to not getting one by making this monumental concession, is how you would position it. And from this major concession, I need these things. If I can't get these things, I'm going back to the fully guaranteed contract. You can stick a franchise tag on me. I don't care which one. If you do exclusive, then obviously I can't talk to anybody. We've got a new offensive coordinator. You will see me when I show up, whenever that is.
Right. So the concession is give me the opportunity to negotiate. That's the first concession. Give me the opportunity to negotiate elsewhere?
No. I'm just saying that the forecast down the road is, look, if you don't want to do something along these lines and you're going to stick the exclusive tag on me, you'll see me when you see me. If I'm the Ravens, I'm scared of the non-exclusive for this reason.
Yeah.
That it invites the offer sheet, and if you want a fully guaranteed contract, maybe the best way to get one is through the offer sheet. Then the Ravens are doing something they don't want to do in the first place.
Right.
Or they're losing him for 2 first-round picks, because that's the compensation for an unmatched offer sheet. That is inadequate to me. Lamar Jackson for 2 first-round picks, not enough. The reason I say that is you've had a safety in recent years, Jamal Adams, who's perpetually injured. Go for more than 2 first-round picks. Laramie Tunsil, more than 2 first-round picks. Jalen Ramsey, more than 2 first-round picks. The quarterbacks last year, you can say whether it was a bad move for the Browns or the Broncos, the compensation to get Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson was the equivalent of 3 first-round picks plus.
So
two first-round picks from Lamar Jackson, not enough for me.
I agree with that, Joel. This is an argument that was presented to me, which is if you're so convinced that my market value isn't a fully guaranteed contract, well then give me the non-exclusive tag and let me go find that out, and then we are. But if you're convinced that you can't do that because you run the risk of somebody else signing me for that, then aren't you establishing that that's what my market value is, and then how are you not giving me a fully guaranteed deal?
Well, it's not necessarily the fully guaranteed contract. It's the fact that there's only one that's gotten one, so that's the outlier. Well, there was Cousins a couple of years ago now, but he had to go through 2 tags to hit the open market and get it. So to me, some people say, well, if you put the exclusive on it, then you establish that the baseline for the negotiation is $45 million. I'm like, he already rejected $50 million.
Right.
So that's a non-starter. It's an argument. You take 2 tags exclusive, you're basically at 50, which is the average of the rejected offer. So I know it's a lot to take up on the cap, but to me, the exclusive is the safer play.
For the record, Joel, I completely agree with you. I do just think it's compelling that if you're afraid of him going, is it because you're afraid that the market value is more than what you're willing to offer? And if that's the case, then isn't that your answer about what you should be paying Lamar Jackson? And that eternally always comes back to me like I don't think that the idea of fully guaranteed is as terrifying as a lot of other people do, but that's because I'm terrified of not having a quarterback. Like that's where my fear is in this market. Joel, the deal that you suggest is interesting to me for a couple of reasons. One, why specifically 4 years when it looks like the conversation has been about 5?
I don't want to do a 5 for the fact that the cap is probably going to skyrocket in the next couple of years. We're probably done paying back the money borrowed, so the bottom didn't drop out of the cap with the pandemic.
Right.
We used to see before Patrick Mahomes that quarterbacks gave up 4 new years, and there are a long list of them. Aaron Rodgers' 2018 contract, 4 years. Russell Wilson's 2019 contract, 4 new years. Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, 4 new years. Deshaun Watson's first veteran contract, 4 new years. Dak Prescott signs for 4 years. Then we had last year, Matthew Stafford, 4 new years. So I'm doing 4, and I'm really basing some of this off of what happened with Dak Prescott because he was the guy who didn't have any years left. They were sticking the second franchise tag on him. So some of the things borrowed from the contract I suggested were incorporated from the Dak Prescott deal.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So you go that route. This is a question I think a lot of people are struggling with. Just to establish for the listeners, can you remind people what the difference is between full guarantee and essential guarantee, and what, like, when we see a number that says $133 million fully guaranteed, someone would read and say, well, that's more than so-and-so got, that's more than so-and-so got. But do we not understand enough about the words fully guaranteed, total guarantees, essentially guaranteed?
Yeah, well, $133 million fully guaranteed means as soon as Lamar signs his name on the dotted line, that's his. Now, the Ravens, particularly with the higher-end deals, there's a total guarantee, which means there's money which was guaranteed for injury at signing, where the salary cap and skill guarantee will kick in at a later date. It usually vests a year early before that year comes up. For the higher-end deals like Roquan Smith, Ronnie Stanley, Marlon Humphrey, and Mark Andrews. So there's an incomplete picture painted because I can't imagine the Ravens would treat Lamar worse than they do everyone else and not have anything more than 133 as the total or overall guarantee. I did read something that's a couple of guys from NFL.com put out last September where they said the amount for the total guarantee was on par with Russell Wilson's 67.3%. So that would peg if it's on par in the same neighborhood, we're talking like 165, 170, 175, 180. I don't know the exact number of what the total guarantee is. So let's say you have money 2023 and 2024 fully guaranteed. And hypothetically, 2025 is guaranteed for injury at signing. then the skill and cap guarantees would be kicking in like third day of the 2024 league year. So it is practically guaranteed because you're not going to cut him before next March, but it's not fully guaranteed at signing.
Exactly. So, and by the way, and these are the numbers. I think we get lost in some of these things sometimes because what the full guarantee number. Let me put it this way: which number is more important to a player when they're doing their contracts?
Depends on the player and how sophisticated he is and his knowledge of contracts. Because sometimes players look at the average, and for ego purposes, they want to be the highest paid player.
Right.
More savvy ones will look at it. Well, I want great cash flow. I want the most I can get fully guaranteed at signing, and then the overall guarantee where they vest early and great cash flow. So it all depends on where the player is and his understanding of how the contract works and what he's focused on.
So the flexibility for the reason, like a tangible reason beyond just that the owners don't want you to do it, for why you don't give a fully guaranteed contract is because you get back-end flexibility within the contract should something go wrong related to injury or, you're just not good at playing quarterback any longer and the team has the ability to get out of it. Is all of the flexibility in a deal like this in the fourth year?
And the one I'm proposing, yeah, yes and no, because the fourth year is unsecured, but at the same time, just like in Dak Prescott's contract, there's a no franchise, no transition clause. So you're really going to have to, if Lamar's playing well, you're not going to let him play on the fourth year because then he's an unrestricted free agent and can walk out the door. So you're redoing it after 3 years.
So again, but in the insurance case, if something were to go terribly wrong, if, we've seen him miss some games recently, if he's just never the same guy, it would be hell for 3 years and then you'd be able to get out from under it.
Yes. For year 4, and him missing games now for 2 straight years, there's a new durability concern because when it's just 1 year, it's like, yeah, maybe it was an outlier freak injury, won't happen again. 2 years in a row, you got to wonder, is this guy starting to be injury prone? And if so, do I really want to fully guarantee a contract to a guy that has durability concerns? So this year didn't help Lamar in that regard, looking at it from the Ravens standpoint.
Joel Corry is with us, former NFL agent, CBSSports.com. Joel, again, everybody keeps bringing up the agent factor, and you and I have talked about this a number of times over the years, and my opinion is I think Lamar would be well-served to have an agent, but it's almost become vitriolic recently based on the comments that D. Smith made on Ryan Clark's podcast about wanting to have someone who's willing to kind of be the guy that stands up and says, I'm not doing anything but fully guaranteed, and the belief that means that's exactly what they're having Lamar Jackson do, and that Lamar is almost a puppet at this point for the NFLPA, something like that, which I don't buy into in any way. I don't think that's what D. Smith said, and I think we're taking a step with all of this. I guess I bring this up to say, tangibly, is your belief that with an agent, Lamar Jackson would change his opinion about what he wants, or he would just be willing to do whatever the agent says in getting a deal done?
Well, you got to remember that the agent works for the client, not the other way around, although in some cases it may seem like that. Well, first thing I want to say is that if Lamar had an agent, he probably gets a deal done in 2021, which works off of the Josh Allen deal. There's no fully guaranteed contract, which becomes a sticking point. And he's averaging like $43.5 million per year on a 6-year extension. So by not having an agent, not doing a deal in 2021, Lamar made a ton of money. Now, what an agent would do is, and maybe it's been done by other people, explain to him, particularly after Russell Wilson didn't get a fully guaranteed contract. That's the one guy I think Lamar, if he has any frustration with, it should be Russell Wilson. To me, those conditions were set up for a fully guaranteed contract. They gave up the sun, moon, and the stars to acquire him. Then you had the ownership change, and you've got one of the 20 richest men in the world, the head part of the ownership group, Rob Walton. If you were ever going to push for a fully guaranteed contract, it was Russell Wilson. Then it's not just an outlier anomaly by Deshaun Watson. So that was the problem. Now, an agent's going to look at what I've done is who's going to help on the fully guaranteed landscape. And you don't see anyone else is going to help you. then it's like, Lamar, you can keep pushing for the fully guaranteed contract, and I'm happy to do that if that's what you want. But understand that you're not getting any help from anybody else. Based on what happened this year, the Ravens probably aren't going to be more inclined to do it. And if that's the hill you want to die on, we're not getting the deal done. You're going to have to, if you want a fully guaranteed contract and you get the exclusive tag, you have to be willing to play at least on one franchise tag for what right now projects to $45.2 million. If you're not comfortable doing that, then maybe you should consider something which isn't fully guaranteed. That's the conversation that would have to be had. I don't know if someone's done that with him or not. And then if he comes back, fully guaranteed contract or nothing, you do your best job to try to execute that, come for game plan to try to get it done for your client.
Is there a wild card here where he this is the part, Joel, that I was confused by a year ago, was him showing up when he did, not holding out, and not like the leverage is with the quarterbacks, right? Like that's the way it worked. The guys that have gotten to, either true free agency or what Deshaun Watson had, like the leverage has been on their side. The open market is crazy. It's the reason why you don't want to put the non-exclusive tag on him. Is the leverage here for Lamar Jackson to finally say, hey, look, if you don't believe that's what I should be getting, fine. Why don't you see what's out there? Like, is demanding the trade his leverage to try to force this on a little bit further?
Yeah, that's kind of a nuclear option. He has to be willing to go there and see it through. You got to remember that Cousins did play 2 tags at the open market. I call Watson a quasi-free agent because he was never playing for Houston again and had multiple suitors. And the only reason Cleveland was eliminated. It was down to the Saints or the Falcons. And basically it was a great job by David Mulligetta where he extracted a new contract. And part of the appeal for Watson to me was you had him cost contained on a 4-year extension averaging $39 million per year. And now you have an extra year and you guaranteed the whole thing. It was basically Cleveland pulling out their wallet and throwing money out. Well, let's get it done. And Mulligetta, I got to give him credit. He played that perfectly.
Understood it. To me, I feel like the market, getting yourself to the open market is the way to find. Let's put all the cards on the table. Let's find out exactly what my value is if you're so convinced that it shouldn't be fully guaranteed. Let me just sort of run one last thing by. There will still always be, even with the contract that you suggested, if you didn't see it, I'm not going to give all the details away, but we'll link it up. The piece that Joel wrote at CBSSports.com, we'll link it up at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter as well for you to check it out. So let's put all this on the table. How damaging is it to a franchise that still has to address the wide receiver position somehow, some way? And yes, it could be via the NFL draft, but they have struggled mightily there. If the Ravens were to do something like this, does it take them out of the conversations for a DeAndre Hopkins trade, a Keenan Allen, something like that in free agency?
Makes it more difficult. The Ravens are going to restructure contracts regardless, but the cap number in the first year is about $10 million less than the exclusive tag and about $3 million more than a non-exclusive. So you do have some flexibility this year. I'd kick the tires on Mike Thomas because he's going to get released before $31 million of his 2024 salary becomes guaranteed on the 5th day of the upcoming league year. I know he's played 10 games in 3 years, but when he was healthy, he was the most productive guy over the first 4 years of an NFL career before Justin Jefferson obliterated those marks. Well, actually, Jefferson hadn't obliterated the 4th-year mark, but will as long as he stays healthy.
Man, I hear you. I don't know if I could do it. I just don't know that I could stomach it. It's tough. It's tough to make that your investment when you have to address the position. That would almost have to be a luxury for me at this point.
But Thomas should be cheap. Coming off of not playing.
That's true.
You do a 1-year deal for $10 million and $11 million, and you load him up with incentives. And if he's the guy that he was, then you can stick a tag on him next year if you have Lamar under contract.
That's true. There's no doubt. That's true. Boy, it's dicey for me. All right, Joel Corry, of course, CBSSports.com. Podcast to plug?
Podcast is called Inside the Cap. The last episode, which is up now, is on players under contract who could be in different uniforms next year, either by being released or by traded. And next couple of days, I'm going to do a franchise tag podcast.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Joel. Always at Corry Joel on Twitter is how you follow him. Always appreciate you taking the time for us, sir. Thanks so much for joining us.
Sure, anytime. Thanks for having me.
Joel Corry, CBSSports.com, former NFL agent with us here on GCR. I can't shake this part of it. Today's show, just a reminder that gambling can be fun, but you should set a limit, stay within it. Remember that if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org. I cannot shake that part of this. If you're convinced that my market value isn't fully guaranteed, then put the non-exclusive tag on me. What are you afraid of? And if you're not willing to do that, then isn't it because you know that my value on the open market is more than what you're willing to pay? And doesn't that tell you your offer isn't good enough?
I think it's one of those things. All the owners know, like, you're gonna get that stink eye if you pay for Lamar and you cough up that kind of money. But there's always, when everybody's zigging, there's always one person zagging.
There's always one person that doesn't have a quarterback and is living in hell because of it. Like, these franchises that don't have a quarterbacks are in hell if they care. Again, they might have owners.
And there's guaranteed to be one owner that's gonna pay them just out of spite of the other owners, probably.
Like, to me, the moment you put the exclusive tag on, you've answered the question. You know what his value is. You just don't want to pay it. I keep seeing this, even today. I mean, Lamar wants to be here or he doesn't. This is from Native Son on Twitter responding to something we said this morning. You don't hear any of this drama coming from Hurts or Burrow or Herbert, any of those guys next in line for big deals. The whole vibe is weird.
They don't have to worry about a tag.
Well, not yet, right?
But
but to the point, whatever they want doesn't have to be the same as what Lamar wants. This thing where you're like, either he wants to be here or not. So, again, what are the rules? What are the rules for proving that you just take anything? Well, no, you can just take, these guys are going to all go with market value. What do you think market value is? Because if you're not willing to put the non-exclusive tag on him, you're telling me that you think market value is more than what you're willing to offer. Because if you don't, then you would take a lesser cap hit this season. You think his market value could very well be more than what you've been willing to offer. So Lamar Jackson, you're asking to take less than market value. That's what we keep wanting to make this about, something other than, are the Ravens paying market value? To the point, they don't have to. You, in your heart of hearts, might believe Lamar Jackson isn't worth paying market value for. Okay? I know there are plenty of you that don't feel that way. That's fine. I disagree personally, but these are opinions that can't be proven until we see how it plays out, obviously. Like, I mean, if they don't, then next year they stink because they have no quarterback, then that'll be a pretty strong argument that it was worth paying Lamar Jackson market value, especially if he goes to Atlanta and lights the world on fire. But these are opinions for the most part. Reasonable people can disagree about topics. I understand that. But I can't shake this. And I tried to kind of pin Joel down on it, and I couldn't. I know why it is that you don't want to use when you say, well, 2 first-round picks isn't enough for Lamar. Right, but if you've offered market value, then you don't have to worry about it. He's not going to go anywhere. If you know the market for Lamar Jackson is equal to what you've offered, if not more, or less, if you've not offered more, then all good. Which is not me saying put the non-exclusive tag on Lamar Jackson, because I agree with everybody else. I think there absolutely runs the risk. I mean, ironically, there is an argument, right? Like, the argument being, let the market set it, right? Like, go ahead. Use the non-exclusive tag, let the market set, and then whatever the offer is, just go ahead and match it. Is there risk involved with that? Yeah. The offer could be astronomical. I mean, it could be 7 years fully guaranteed. It could be that someone's gone so crazy over this. But that's the reality. That's the market. The market value is whatever you can get on the free market. I hate this. I really hate this. I don't want to keep doing this every day. I hate this. I'm with you guys. Trust me. I'm fatigued. It
just comes.
You're just gonna keep doing this.
Like, it's something that's been discussed over and over again. Like, quarterbacks don't usually get to the tag, and when they do get to the tag, it's the quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, Daniel Jones. Are we seriously saying Lamar Jackson is of that caliber?
Well, I mean,
absolutely not.
I absolutely believe he's better than those quarterbacks, 100%. But I also, like, again, other quarterbacks have been willing to take lesser deals. We're mad at Lamar Jackson because other quarterbacks didn't take full market value. I can't speak to those things. I can't speak to why it matters to Lamar Jackson to get full market value when it didn't matter to, as Joel Corry pointed out, Russell Wilson to get full market value. He also happens to be married to a very famous person, although Sierra is not as wealthy as Gisele Bündchen, but, wealthy. I don't know. I don't know why one cares and one didn't care as much about it. But the argument that because one didn't, then the next one shouldn't, it doesn't mean anything to me. If I'm trying to make a comparison. So I have I don't know if a contract. I have a deal for my job at Loyola, for example, right? And I love Loyola. It's wonderful. It's a great place to be. I couldn't be happier there. But if the University of Delaware made it clear to me, hey, you get to the end of your deal at Loyola, we're going to give you, just everything you could possibly want to come here to Delaware. I love Loyola. I'm going to turn around and say, I would rather be here. This is what I'm dealing with. Do you want to do that? And I would like to think that my bosses at Loyola would say, hey, man, we understand. Like, we get it. And they would probably, at that point, be willing to let me move on to Delaware. But does that make me a bad person? Like, is there anything inherently wrong with me? The Ravens might just say, we're not going to do this. But there's going to be no vitriol from me towards Lamar Jackson if that's the case. I don't know that it'll be vitriol from me towards the Ravens. I will think it a mistake. I'm not trying to compare myself in this scenario to Lamar. It's probably a bad correlation because I'm making it seem like I'm the Lamar Jackson of doing play-by-play. I am not. To be abundantly clear, I am eminently replaceable.
Don't sell yourself too short.
I mean, I'm talented, but trust me, they'll just slide over my buddy Christian Taylor, and it'll be like I never existed. They'll be just fine. It doesn't work as a parallel in any way.
Well,
it does not work.
Some like that happened in NBA free agency last season was the Jalen Brunson situation where he had a good experience and situation in Dallas, but New York just wanted him more.
Well, but I mean, and but the free agency happens more frequently in basketball than it does in the NFL, right? Like everybody wants to become a free agent in basketball, and for whatever reason in football, nobody's wanted to become a free agent, despite the fact that it's been proven that if you can get to the open market, you are going to do better than if you don't. It's weird that nobody ever wants to get to the open market. I get it. I do know the risk of injury is what makes the difference, right? There's always that hanging over you that if you're Lamar Jackson and you play on the franchise tag this year and something, then look, I know everybody says, well, Dak Prescott proved you can get paid anyway. Well, as long as it's not an injury that you can't recover. Like if you have the Robert Griffin III thing happen to you, you could be really screwed. If you have the Alex Smith thing happen to you, you could be really screwed in the process. I guess it's just if you're a Washington quarterback. I guess it's like as long as you're not a Washington quarterback, you're going to be okay. I understand why players have been reluctant to get the free agency, but the proof is that the players that get the quarterbacks that get as close to the open market as possible are getting anything that they want. So if Joe Burrow doesn't want that, if Joe Burrow just says, I don't really care about that, God bless him. Sure. Would I be jealous? Yeah, I'd be jealous that that's not what he was. But Lamar has every right to say, I want to get every penny I possibly can. And I'm not doing anything just because you want me to. I don't know. To me it's on the Ravens. The Ravens, if they put that exclusive tag on, it's because they know his market value is more than what they've offered. More than what they're willing to pay. That's the answer. Plain and simple. Come back in. Well, I want to get more into some of the baseball conversation that we had yesterday. I want to talk more about the pitch. There was a tweet that was going around. I don't know if you guys saw it. That was an overlay of one pitch from baseball in a previous year versus an entire half inning from a spring training game this year. And there's no way for me to share that. If you guys can go find it, maybe Griffin, if you can search for it and retweet. I think Pitching Ninja put it up. It's dramatic, right? It's over dramatic. It's not every pitch took as long as this one did, but it's interesting in how drastically different baseball might be moving forward with the pitch clock. I want to talk about that when we come back in. PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Speaking of baseball betting is here. Bet $5 with DraftKings. Get $200 in instant bonus bets along with other great incentives and promos when you sign up at PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Baseball futures bets, season specials, and player award bets are already live in Maryland. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers now for your shot at winning big.
Are you a diehard O's fan looking for the perfect way to show your team spirit? Look no further than Birdland Sports. Birdland Sports is a small business run by fans for fans. They offer a wide variety of unofficial O's merchandise, from the Birds Are Coming tees to player cartoon shirts and more. And the best part? Their prices are more affordable than the big guys. So head to birdlandsports.com and grab your gear today. Show your support for the Birds with Birdland Sports.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Orioles phenom Gunnar Henderson, breaking down how he was able to become the top prospect in baseball at such a young age and what could be next in his first full MLB season. Also inside, we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's college programs across the state, and Bo Smoka breaks down another year of wide receiver issues for the Ravens. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at over $60,000 and over $64,000 for lateral officers, with $10,000 signing bonuses available. Plus, cadets start at over $32,000. Great benefits are available, like medical, dental, and vision insurance, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days per calendar year with no limit, career advancement to more than 20 specialized units, and more, with further incentives for military service members and veterans. A passion for service, a career for life with the Baltimore County Police Department. Find out more at joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. Must be a United States citizen, have a valid driver's license, and a high school diploma or GED equivalent.
If you miss anything on the show, don't forget that you can watch full episodes at youtube.com/pressboxonline, and you can download podcasts on Apple, iTunes, Amazon, and Grindr. Wait, did I say Grindr? I don't think that you would find it on Grindr. Not that I know what's on Grindr or anything, I swear. On second thought, you know what? I don't care what you think. Here's Glenn.
Prince Charles has just discovered something. You said you're going to the Defenders game this weekend?
Indeed.
When is it?
Sunday.
And he said, it looks like a great atmosphere. So I actually have a lot of friends that are involved because I used to work in D.C. and at 106.7 down in D.C. And so they have created something. by the way, the XFL is already like well on its way to not being able to make it through the season. The ratings were not even in good week one. Like normally in past years, these leagues have had good week one ratings. Like people are, hey, football, yeah, right. And then after week one, they tanked. Well, they tanked in week one. Like it's a disaster. Did you see where they're having the Las Vegas team play? It is an old minor league baseball stadium. Like there is no. Like half of the field, there's no seats anywhere near it. They're forcing it in. It looks, the word that was being used most on Twitter, cozy, was the best way to describe it. They spray paint, it's the desert. They spray paint the field to make it look like it's grass. There's no grass. Like, it's a disaster. It's an unmitigated disaster where they're trying to play. I don't know why they couldn't have just played at the old UNLV stadium that's still sitting there, not being used. Because UNLV moved to the NFL stadium now in Vegas, but it is a mess, that situation. And, again, 3 of the teams are in Texas, so there's just not – the XFL, again, will never be for me, but bless them, they're trying. There's this weird phenomenon in D.C. where because people hate the state of the Commanders so much, they have almost become like ardent D.C. Defenders fans as an FU to Dan Snyder and the Commanders. Like, we don't have football here. So you bringing us football, we're going to choose to embrace it as if to say, go F yourself to the Commanders. It's a wild when I say that, there's a limit to it. It's not like they could sell 30,000 tickets a game or something like that. But there is an atmosphere for the D.C. Defenders because the joke is you got to go to the markets where they don't have the NFL, and D.C. is one of those markets. So it's semi-working, but it's about the only place where it's semi-working.
So get your Defenders future bets in.
I don't know that means they're going to be good. I don't know
they
that
got the
means
home field advantage. They got the best home field advantage.
I wouldn't be surprised if, like, once the end of year, like, statistics come together, that their revenue is higher than a lot of the XFL teams combined.
I don't know enough to know about, like, the costs in different places, but yeah, like,
but they're definitely selling merchandise.
There's definitely way more of interest
DC,
in DC in that than there is in any like other market about the XFL because again they hate the team
like
that they
Vegas.
have in DC. All right, a couple of things here really quickly. One, you know what? I wanted to give you guys. So there were 2 sports questions. We played trivia last night. There were 2 sports questions. The first I got, but I was still mad about the scenario. So the first one was, Tom Brady has the greatest distance between his first and last Super Bowl MVPs. Who has the second longest distance between first...
In terms of years?
Number of years between first and last Super Bowl MVP.
Did he win MVP in 2020, I guess? The Super Bowl MVP?
Tom Brady?
Yeah.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So it would be the second?
Yes. I'm not really sure how that's germane to the... Yeah,
no.
I believe they told us the second.
Think.
No, I can give you the second one was 8. At 8 years, this person had the second longest stint between first and last Super Bowl MVP.
Joe Montana.
John Elway.
That was my other. That was my
John
Elway.
We're back to back. It was back to back for John Elway.
Darn.
The answer is of course Joe Montana,
okay,
which
good.
like you get to when you start sort of going through all the other options, right? You're like, John Elway, no, he was back-to-back. Eli Manning was 4 years apart. Peyton Manning didn't win MVP.
My other only guess was Brett Favre, but I think he only won one.
He only won one Super Bowl.
It will be Joe Flacco after this year.
Right. That's a great point when he plays for...
whoever wants to win the Super Bowl this year, I guess.
So, we do that, right? And I'm doing the process elimination, and I'm like, it's got to be Joe Montana. But you have to wager on your guess how many points you want, like between 1 and 5, and you can only use one. Like you can use 1 once, 2 once.
So
3.
Brady was what, 17 years?
Brady, I believe, was 18 years if I remember. It was insane. It's bonkers. So we're in the middle of ants, and I'm like doing all of this. I'm going through my head like it can't be this guy. It can't be this guy. It's got to be Joe Montana. Like it's the only option for it to be Joe Montana. So I write down Joe Montana, and I'm ready to circle 5 as our guess, and then I hear this. Attention, team. Steve and Sammy, if you're going to use a common last name, you need to give me the first name. And I'm like, oh, somebody guessed Manning. So she was saying you got to say whether it's Peyton. But I'm like,
but Peyton.
Why would that matter? It's wrong. Like if it's wrong, why would she care about
Yeah,
whether or
don't
not.
get into the stipulations.
Yeah,
just tell them
right.
they're wrong.
Just say you're wrong. It's not Manning. So now all of a sudden I'm in my head, right?
Like, it has to be a man.
All of a sudden, and I'm doing the math all over again. Like the guys that, because I'm the sports guy on the team, right? So the other guys on the team are like,
Glenn,
are you sure Peyton Manning didn't win MVP? I'm like, Peyton Manning, when he won that second Super Bowl, was garbage.
Yeah.
He was atrocious. He was the worst quarterback to have won a Super Bowl. He was worse than Trent Dilfer. Like, he was awful that final season.
So much in your head, you're just thinking, could it have been Cooper? Like,
yeah, and I don't think he played in the NFL. I think that we're good. And Archie Manning never won a Super Bowl. And I'm like, I know Eli Manning because I was there for the 07 because I was living in Phoenix at the time. So I was there for that one. And then I'm like doing the math on, so when was the second? Am I wrong about this? Was the second one?
Yeah.
No, but I remembered it was the year that the Ravens lost to the Patriots in the AFC Championship game because the Patriots were the team that the Giants turned around and beat in the Super Bowl, right? Like, because Giselle was like, what's Tommy supposed to do? Throw and catch the football? Like, I remember that well, so I'm doing the math. When was that AFC Championship game? The year before they won the Super Bowl, so the 11 season, 07-11. No, that does not work. 4 years. Not possible. But I'm in my head. So I was like, maybe we only go for 4 on this one. Maybe we don't go for 5 on this one just because I'm in my head. And, of course, the answer was Joe Montana. Right. And I'm still mad. Whatever your name is, the woman who's in charge of trivia.
Oh, okay.
I'm not happy about this.
You're going to be mad at Team Sammy and Stevie.
No, I'm mad at them too because they screwed this whole thing up. It's nonsense. If they're just wrong, like we guessed there was a picture, like they do a round where it's like they put pictures up on the board and they're like, name who this person is. And last night one was a round about politicians. And like I got Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago. I got Stacey Abrams. But like we're just nondescript looking. Like I'm like
people on the floor.
Yeah,
people on the Capitol floor.
I'm like guess Johnson. You know what I mean? Like just put down because it's Jeopardy rules.
Gingrich.
Jeopardy rules are you only have to put down the last name. You don't have to put down the first name. And so I was like, just guess Johnson. Who knows? It could be somebody named Johnson. She didn't call us back up and say who Johnson. She just said you're wrong. Like we know you're wrong. It was former presidential candidate Alan Keyes, as if I'm supposed to remember what Alan Keyes looks like. Like,
most people do.
No, you're wrong. Here's the way to say it. So thanks for nothing. Now, second sports question from last night. Who won this year's Daytona 500?
Oh, yeah, I know that. Yeah.
I
remember.
You know?
Yeah.
I do know. Now
you guys, I wish you guys had been around last night.
It was Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
I wish you guys had been around last
night.
Bush
won San Bernardino.
My God, you are all in.
Yep. Well,
Prince Charles is all in on NASCAR at this point. He's going to be at Dover this summer.
Like I said, Zach put some on, and I watched it last night at 1 a.m. It was Australian horse racing.
Sure, why not?
Nice.
He was screaming at the TV at 1 a.m. betting on it. And
so
like, all right,
wait, he's not. Is he an athlete?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
No.
all right. I was gonna say we probably shouldn't. We should be careful about what we're saying over there. I swear to God, when you're the sports guy on the team, and that comes up, and everybody like stares at you, and you're just like,
So who'd you guess?
Okay, so here's what happened. I'm like, I know the scenario. There was a caution. I'm like, I remember that. I remember it was somebody who hadn't won in years. I'm like doing the math in my head. I'm like,
Earnhardt.
Well, that's the funny thing. And I even came up with Junior, but then I wrote down Martin Truex Jr. I even came up with that part of
Are
it.
they all juniors? Are all the drivers juniors?
I don't think they're all juniors. No, I don't think it's Joey Logano Jr.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any of those are juniors. But yeah, it was when you're the sports guy on the team and you let everybody down on a sports question. Thankfully, we won trivia last night anyway because we got lucky and guessed the final answer correct. But it was a bad show when you're there to be the sports guy and you're like, They're like, it happened last week. I'm like, shut up.
It's NASCAR.
Nobody cares. Daytona 500.
The Sunday after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was a bad scene last night. All right, so Talking Baseball shares out this clip. And admittedly, it's over the top. It's very over the top. I know that Ben Verlander had shared out a similar clip about Pedro Baez specifically. So Pedro Baez apparently is notorious for taking a very long time when it comes to pitching. I guess Pitching Ninja also shared out this clip.
Yes,
Not
I think Pitching Ninja actually. It looks like
it started with him. Okay, my apologies.
Rob Friedman.
Yes. On the left, a half inning of baseball. from a spring training game this year. Now, again, 2 things to file away. 1, spring training game. So guys aren't up there working counts. 2, it happened to be a particularly quick inning. I think there was 2 of the batters were first pitch contact, right?
First one was.
The first one definitely was.
I'm just watching it now.
It's a 1 minute and 51 second long video, and there might have been, and it was of an entire half inning in a spring training game, and there might have been 5 pitches in the entire span, right? So it was a very fast-moving spring training half inning. On the other side, the overlay of the video is a half inning, I believe, from a playoff game, correct?
The 2016 NLCS, Game 1.
Of Pedro Baez, and in the same minute and 51 seconds, he delivers 1 pitch. Now, part of that is he's checking on a runner. Part of it is, another part of it is it's a playoff game. It's far more intense. There's far more at stake in the moment.
Yeah.
So the video is a little unfair, right? The video is there is context missing from this video. It's a suggestion that every half inning or every pitch took 1 minute and 51 seconds to be delivered is not true. The suggestion on the flip side that every half inning of baseball this year will be as quick as this half inning was in the spring training game is similarly untrue. But it does start to give context in comparison to the game times that we saw for the first two. The first 2 spring training games of the year were both 2.5 hours long on Friday. Jeff Passan tweeted that out. I haven't continued to check on game times. But the first 2 spring training games of the year were both 2.5 hours long. Remember, they're also spring training games. I can't say this enough. There are things that you're just not going to care about in a spring training game. You're not going to go out and have mound visits and
check on the runner a bunch.
Yeah, that's just not going to happen in a spring training game. But are we seeing enough? I'll share a text I got from a friend of mine last night that's a sports fan but not a football fan. Said, can we talk about the pitch clock? I love it. In fact, I think 20 seconds is too long. I'd prefer it be 10 seconds. Said, this could get me excited about baseball.
Which is, I guess, what they want. That's exactly what Major League Baseball is trying to accomplish with this.
Right.
Yeah.
To the point that, are you going to create new fans? I was talking about this with Steve Johnson on 105.7 the other day. Is someone that doesn't like baseball suddenly going to say, now that there's a pitch clock, I love it? Well, okay, I think my buddy is I think it's a bit of a stretch, right? I don't think he's suddenly going to find himself sitting down and watching baseball games. I think this is more if, for whatever reason, I sit down and watch a baseball game, I'm going to be more inclined to enjoy it than I would be otherwise. But are we getting enough evidence that this will significantly change the way that we have watched baseball over the course of our lives? That's really what I'm... I think that most of these things, I assumed, we get to the season, it's just going to be baseball at some point, right? The larger bases, maybe there's a couple more stolen bases, maybe there's some of that, but I don't think it's going to dramatically change the sport. I have tried to think about what has dramatically changed the sport. And for sure, the shift dramatically changed the sport. I don't think anybody would argue with that. The steroid era certainly dramatically changed the sport, right? Just because the numbers were cartoonish. You were watching guys hit 70 home runs regularly, not regularly, but 60 home runs regularly. The numbers were cartoonish. The steroid era changed the sport. But has anything else really dramatically changed the sport in your life as a baseball fan? I guess maybe I would argue the specialty reliever era has. When I was a kid,
the designated hitter.
But that wasn't in your life as a baseball fan.
When did it come around?
Oh, way before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess now it's across both leagues.
But that hasn't dramatically changed anything.
It's better. I think it's better.
I agree. I'm in favor of it, but it hasn't dramatically changed baseball.
Interleague play.
Okay. There is an argument for interleague play. We can laugh about that and say, we're just so used to it at this point. But I'm telling you, when interleague play first started, it was a big deal. It dramatically... You were looking at the schedule every year.
Oh, we're playing the Diamondbacks.
And saying, Sammy Sosa's coming to Baltimore this year. Barry Bonds is going to be... Even when the Orioles stunk in the dark ages, there were reasons why you were like, we're going to go pack the ballpark that weekend. Like when those guys, now it also coincided with the steroid era and there being those types of players, and it also was pre like MLB Network. There weren't as many games available to you. There wasn't
ready available coverage like it.
Then I mean, frankly, the Nationals weren't on Masson. Like there was an excitement about seeing more National League stars at that point. Now, my God, like if you really want to watch, I'm trying to think of who the dominant National League star, Mookie Betts. If you really want to watch Mookie Betts,
Padres, yeah.
Yeah, Manny Machado, you can do it. Their games are on national TV enough. And there's the
MLB TV.
If you're desperately in love with baseball and you have the extra innings package with DirecTV, whatever it is, right? Like if you care that much about baseball, you have no problem watching those. But when they implemented interleague play, beyond any shadow of doubt. By the way, last year was the first time the Orioles had gone to St. Louis in like almost 2 decades. And a lot of Orioles fans traveled to St. Louis to go see baseball games because it had been that long. Interleague play absolutely was a dramatic change for baseball in my lifetime. I don't know what else I would qualify as being a dramatic change. And obviously the steroid era wasn't a rule change. It was just looking the other way, right? Like we don't want to deal with this. I'm not sure yet that there's going to dramatically change the way that I watch baseball. But I do think that I'm more convinced it's going to be noticeable. I'm more convinced that you're going to go to the ballpark and you're going to say, this game's moving along a little bit quicker than and it's not going to be tangible even. It's just going to be noticeable for you. Like, this is crisper than I remember going to a baseball game being. That's my gut so far. Dynamite Tippins, thank you very much. John Proctor.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I think it's going to be.
Looking at blank, empty face. Okay, wow.
For ones that go to a game and, like, are sitting in the seat, in my perspective, where it's like you're going for the event combined with the game, it's going to feel more like an event than just the game and the sitting and watching and the dead time. Because, like, you have the things that go on in between the innings, and I now feel like those things are going to get more time, and you're going to see it more frequently when you do go to the game because the innings themselves are going by quicker.
That's the way that I feel.
And it'll be in maybe in 5-10 years we're looking back, we're like, when was the last time there was a big, monumental rule change? Because this is just going to feel so normal if when we get really used to the pitch clock.
John Proctor, I don't think you generate new fans directly that way, but if you can capture the attention of casual fans who don't go or watch often because it's too slow, you make small increases now that develop over time. Like maybe that person who goes to one game a year as a big outing maybe wants to make it one or two more as a date night just because they're free. I don't think you can expect a bump in season ticket sales right away from a pitch clock or the extra inning base runners. And I definitely agree with that. It's not going to suddenly change. I don't think that the pitch clock is going to make baseball wildly more popular or is going to make baseball America's national pastime again or something like that.
It'll make it more digestible for.
I'm really only like people that are inclined to watch baseball anyway. Like I'm going to watch baseball no matter what. I'm more and more sold on the idea that I'm going to notice based on the pitch clock how the games are moving and they're changing. And you might be right. It might not be that I think of it as a dramatic change years from now, but I don't know. The more I see it, the more of course, we're not allowed to watch the games here in Baltimore, but
exactly. That's the real takeaway from this is that if the Orioles had a fast half inning, it would never be compared.
Everybody else gets to see how fast these games are going. We can only imagine. We can guess what it must be like.
2.5 hours.
Yeah, right. It sounds like fun. From Dave. Dave says, Glenn, I'm not sure that I'm going to buy that it's going to be dramatic, but I do think, that's sort of where I am, Dave. I do think that we're going to notice, and I do think that we are going to largely approve of it. They do have to work out the issues that you talked about yesterday. Yeah, I still think that it's a mistake to, like, the first violation, have it be charged a ball or a strike. I think they have to address that at some point. I don't think they want that. And I think they know they don't want that, but I'm not sure if they can fix it in time for the start of the season.
Is there any chance that they, for the regular season or even, the regular season, they do away with the pitch clock in the 8th or 9th inning?
Yeah, I don't think you can do that either. Like I think a rule has to be a rule. I just think that the way that you make it punitive. Has to be more like a warning, a couple of warnings, something like that per player, and it collects over time. I don't think it's the first time.
Do they maybe take it away on like a full count?
No, I don't. Again, I think the rule has to.
Too much, like,
in order for the pitch clock to matter, I think it has to be a pitch clock. But I think the point that's been made, or that was made by Steve Johnson, we talked to him on the radio show the other day, was it's like technical fouls in basketball, and like you stockpile them. Okay, this is your first pitch clock violation. We're giving you that. We're letting you know that's one, right? And you have a running
certain
count
amount over a season. Then
and if by the way, if you were up in the ninth inning of a tie game with the bases loaded, and you're carrying 3 pitch clock violations on you, and the fourth one is the one that triggers the penalty, then everybody's got to be aware of that. The manager's got to be aware of that and got to think about whether or not they want to have you in that moment pitching in that spot. You've got to be aware of it. Understand you better fire the pitch because you're sitting on 3 pitch clock violations. Like, all that has to be. Maybe you go ahead and commit a fourth just to get the reset in a non-threatening situation, right? Like you start an inning sitting on 3 pitch clock violations, and you just say, I'm going to go ahead and commit a pitch clock violation to reset my list now because there's nobody on base, right? Like, it becomes kind of part of strategy. I just don't think you want it. You don't want this. You don't want a dramatic moment to involve a pitch clock violation. You want to do everything in your power to prevent that from happening while yet still making sure the pitch clock is a rule. And that, to me, is I still think what you have to work on, and I think that was what Steve Johnson was trying to say the other day. And then from Craig says, I hate it.
I don't love it.
I hate change altogether, admittedly, but this one feels completely manufactured, and it almost feels like it's not the game. I mean, it's still baseball. Craig, what do you say? It's still baseball. Like, they're not like what. I don't understand what that means. It's not the game. I mean, like, yeah, it's different for sure.
One more from Alan. He said the biggest impact will be the attendance by families with children under 10. Shorter games fit the attention span of children. So
that, to me, is interesting. I think you need – I don't think that starts immediately. I think you need more stockpiled evidence of it. I think, like, parents need to see it for a little while. We need to see time of game into the regular season. And if they're all at about 2.5 hours, it's still going to be difficult to take kids – like, the Orioles are doing the 6:40 thing this year where they're going to start. I don't remember exactly how long. Are they doing it all season, or are they just doing it for – so the Orioles are addressing this with game times this year. I got to remember exactly how this works. The Orioles are doing some – and I have suggested doing earlier start times for a while because I said when I was in Phoenix, the Diamondbacks started games 6. So they're doing 6:35 starting in April. On weeknight games, or at 6:35. Now I'm trying to see if they go all season long. No, when school lets out, they shift back to 7.
Gotcha.
Now, my suggestion would be,
so what?
Do it all year long. Like, my suggestion would be keep them at 6:35. But there is something to be said for it's hot in the summer and try to let the sun go down as much as you possibly can for the game. And it's not as big of a deal when the kids are out of school as it is when the kids are in school. It's still going to be tough for me, the parent of an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, to say that I could take my kids to a night game during the school year, because even if it starts at 6:30 and even if the game's a little bit quicker, I don't want to get home at 10 o'clock when they got to go to school the next day. So, like, it's still going to be a tough sell. But for older kids, maybe. And if you acknowledge that, hey, if we get out of there at 8:30, we've seen more of the game than we would have seen previously. We don't feel like we're getting robbed of our money just because we have to leave, before the game's over. We think we can get 6 innings in before the game ends. Yeah, I think Alan might be onto something. I do think there might be a tangible benefit to that down the road about how the pitch clock and the time of game ends up impacting overall fan experience. All right, when we come back in, we will wind down. We'll get a tidbit. We'll get Tubular to wrap up the day. And today's show is brought to you by the Baltimore County Police Department, where they are hiring. Cadet salary started over $32,000 a year. Entry-level officers over $60,000 a year. Lateral officers over $64,000 a year, with $10,000 signing bonuses available for entry-level and lateral officers. We use that phrase, be the change that you want to see. The Baltimore County Police Department is embracing it. They if you have a passion for service and you want a career for life, the Baltimore County Police Department is the place to be. Just give them a call, 410-887-5542, or visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com. As you know, I passed the agility test. If I can do that, you can too, I promise. Join BaltimoreCountyPD.com again, or 410-887-5542. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Yes. What is the problem?
But there are risks involved.
Let's try that one more time. Let's restart that. Let's. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Yes.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Baseball season is finally here, and what better way to celebrate than with some fresh gear from Birdland Sports. As a small business run by O's fans, Birdland Sports offers a great selection of unofficial merchandise, including unique designs like Birds Are Coming tees, player cartoon shirts, and championship prediction designs. And the best part, their prices are more affordable than the big guys. Get high-quality gear without breaking the bank. So whether you're heading to the ballpark or watching from home, show your love for the birds with Birdland Sports. Visit birdlandsports.com today to browse their collection and gear up for the season. Let's go O's.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
There's something for everyone this February at Laurel Park. Come watch live horse racing every Friday through Sunday and join us on Saturday, February 18th for the Winter Stakes Spectacular, featuring 6 stakes races and $900,000 in purses, including the General George and Barbara Fritchie Stakes. The fun doesn't stop there. Stick around for our winter Mardi Gras celebration with live music, delicious food and drinks, and a carnival atmosphere. Plus, don't miss out on President's Day holiday racing on Monday, February 20th. Visit laurelpark.com for more info. That's laurelpark.com for more. See you at the track.
Another Orioles season is in the books, and the Bat-Around was there every step of the way as the Birds posted their first winning season in 6 years. And after promoting 2 #1 overall prospects in Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, Mike Elias has said it's liftoff from here. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, and along with my co-host Zach Goodman, we'll be here every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon all off season, discussing every signing, trade, and waiver claim as we navigate the cold winter months that lead to spring training. You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or listen live at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. And if you miss a show, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. So tune into the Bat-Around with Paul Valley and Zach Goodman every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon, right here at PressBox Sports.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
If you need more of Glenn, you can also hear him every Sunday with Rita on 105.7 The Fan. But also, if you need more of Glenn, what's wrong with you?
It is a very fair question. I can't deny that. All right, winding down for a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Baseball betting is here. Bet as little as $20 with Caesars and get a $100 instant bonus bet credit along with other great incentives and promos when you sign up at PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Baseball futures bets or season specials and player reward bets are already live in Maryland. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers now for your shot at winning big. Let's get a tidbit as we wind down for a Tuesday edition of the program. Tidbit of the day is brought to you today by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
All right, so Paulo Banchero had a 20-point game last night.
to he went to Duke. Man. What do you mean?
Was it 29 specifically? Or 20 points.
It was the fact that he scored 20 points is the tidbit here.
Okay.
And so that was his 30th 20-point game of the season, which is the most by a Magic rookie since Shaquille O'Neal. And so my tidbit is going to be about the most 20-point games
History
as a
of
rookie.
Orlando Magic rookies. I don't think I'm going to do well
of all time. Which there's a lot of old. There's a lot of old guys. So I was gonna
say that again.
Most 20-point games as a rookie.
Ever.
I was gonna do ever, but there's a lot of old guys on the list. You should get number 1 and number 2. You should get all of them, but I wanted to make it more relevant, make it more recent. So I was gonna go since 1997.
1997.
I'm not trying to distract.
How many are on the list?
Let's do the top 10. They all had 41 games of 20 or more points as a rookie.
Kobe
Not
Bryant.
trying to distract. The only reason I saw 29 was because I saw somewhere that he had 29 the other night, and it was the first time this season that the whole league had under 30 points. Like one player had 30.
Oh, really? Like no one scored over 30?
He was the leading scorer of the whole league that night, and it was the only time this season.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I cut it off. Points. Yes, I cut it off before Kobe's rookie.
Oh, you said 97?
Yes.
All right, 97. LeBron.
LeBron is just outside the top 10. Only 40, his rookie. Only
Vince
40
Carter.
games of 20 points. Not Vince Carter.
Raptors were bad.
All right, Kevin Durant.
Yes, Kevin Durant, 2007 and 2008 with the Supersonics.
How about
44 games for KD.
I'm trying to think of Rookie of the Year winners. Like that's where I'm trying to go with this.
John Wall.
Not John Wall.
How about
Anthony Davis.
Luka.
Luka, yes, in 2018, 43 such games for Luka Doncic. And then who?
Anthony Davis.
Oh, Anthony Davis. Not Anthony Davis.
This is a fun. I can't even remember. Scotty Barnes was Rookie of the Year last year, right?
Was he?
I
think
so.
It was. Scotty Barnes is not on the list.
All right. It's where my mind goes blank. I couldn't tell you who else won Rookie of the Year before that.
Chris Paul.
Not Chris Paul.
All right, I'm just going to go with good players. Damian Lillard.
Damian Lillard is on the list. 41 games of 20 or more points as a rookie in 2012.
Paul George. He had to.
Not Paul George.
Wow.
He did not have to.
But he was running the league when he was so young.
What's weird about that
is
that
LeBron a run for his money.
He didn't
for
have to.
2 years.
Well,
so I'm trying to figure out
Lance Stevenson.
I'm trying to figure out why you started in '97, and I'm figuring that it's got to be either Kevin Garnett,
not Kevin Garnett,
Tim Duncan
in 1997.
Was that the first one?
I guess so. There was actually another guy from. So it was the 96-97 season. So he won the 97 Rookie of the Year. So Tim Duncan is number 2. He had 50 games of 20 or more points.
I was just looking at his jersey in my closet today. Allen Iverson.
Yes, Allen Iverson.
Nice call.
It is Allen Iverson.
Georgetown jersey.
Yeah. Nice call. Carmelo Anthony.
Carmelo Anthony is 3rd, 49 games. AI was 4th.
Dwayne Wade?
Not Dwayne Wade.
Trae Young.
So we have, 3 more? Not Trae Young. Trae Young just outside.
He didn't make the list.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie not on the list.
Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell, yes.
Okay, good call.
3 more. So now 3 more. Donovan Mitchell is 5th on this list. 46
I got a
games.
wild card. Somebody I know was Rookie of the Year. Stevie Franchise.
That is
Francis.
a good guess, but he is just outside. He has 30 games of 20 points. He's tied with Banchero. Gross.
Steph?
Not Steph.
Darren Williams.
Not Darren Williams. All right, so we have in 2000 rookie, or I don't know if it was the rookie year, but with the Bulls.
2000 with the Bulls. 2000 with the Bulls. Derrick Rose wasn't with the. That was in 2000.
No way.
No. Not
Oh,
Derrick
yeah,
Rose.
Jay Williams. Yeah,
Derrick Rose had 32 in 2009.
But he was way after that.
Yeah,
Yes, he was way after 2000. 2000.
Jay Williams.
He was. I think he won 6 Man
I'm
of the
guessing
year.
it's not, but he hasn't said that.
Yeah, it's not Jay Williams. Sorry.
My God, what a weird.
Sorry, not Jay
How many
Williams.
times are you going to say Jay Williams and Griffin just sort of sits there like, you guys got any guesses? Ron Artest?
Not Ron Artest.
Rookie season with the Bulls in 2000. I don't know.
Big six man.
Gordon?
Big sixth man?
Yeah. With let's see, I guess with the Clippers he spent most of his career, but he started with the Bulls.
Oh.
Did win
Elton
Rookie of the
Brand?
Year.
Yeah,
Elton Brand.
I wasn't sure if he
Elton
played with the
Brand.
Bulls or not.
It is Elton Brand, who had 41, and then also had 41 in the 2009-2010 season, the 2010. Let me see if he was Rookie
Someone
of the Year.
else had. You made it
He
seem
was
like
Rookie of
Elton
the Year.
Brand also had.
He was Rookie
This
of the
is
Year.
not
Well, he had
going well.
41 games of 20
We got to
or more
work on
points.
this. The Rookie of the Year in 2009, 2000. I don't know. How would I remember who was Rookie of the Year? In
He was a
2009,
king.
2010? He was a king. We were a king and queen of promise. In 2000, who could remember anything about the 2009? Kevin Martin.
Not Kevin Martin.
Was he a king? I don't remember. He was a king.
He's a king.
Yeah, I guess he didn't really do too much else. I thought I for some
DeMarcus Cousins?
No,
it's too early.
you want me to tell you?
Yeah, probably.
Tyreek Evans.
Oh, well, he got busted for something, didn't he? He got kicked out of the league. Isn't that what happened?
That was a little bit after.
It was after that.
And then
Am I
he had
remembering that right?
he got brought back with the Pacers recently.
So number one on this list was a Clippers rookie in 2010-2011.
Oh, Blake.
Oh, good call, Blake Griffin.
Blake Griffin, 55
Good call.
games.
All right.
And then Michael Jordan and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar both had 73 games with 20 or more points their rookie years.
All right, very good. That is Tid-bit, which we're doing about the NBA, despite the fact we don't talk about
It's
the NBA.
funny,
on
the
this.
Well,
NBA
it's the only thing.
tidbits.
It's the only thing that's happening.
I've noticed the NBA tidbits. You always get just the most random players and characters out of them.
That's the
Football
NBA.
seems consistent, which you're like good players.
Yeah, I
star
guess. I don't know. This
players.
was pretty much a list of, Durant, Doncic, Lillard,
Tyreek
We
Evans.
were never
Iverson,
getting to Tyreek.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the bottom. I guess we probably could have gotten Blake Griffin, but 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 were pretty, significant stars. And then there's Tyreek Evans and Elton Brand. They're the only two random ones.
Stars.
On this list. All right.
Elton Brand made 2 All-Star games.
He went to Duke. F him. That's the rule. Gambling can be fun, but you should set a limit, stay within it. Remember that if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Go to helpmygamblingproblem.org. Totally Tubular, brought to you by Birdland Sports. You want to show everybody your new T-shirt, Charles, that you got from Birdland Sports?
Yes,
Charles is going to be rocking the Orioles 2023 World Series Champions T-shirt. Oh, you can open it, show it off. Yeah, look at that. Look at that sharp-looking shirt. Little prognostication. Yeah, speak it into existence situation, man. Is it on the screen? Can people actually see it?
Yes. Lower it just a little.
Yeah, this is where we got to remember to do the producing.
Boom.
We're trying to manifest some things around here. 2023 World Series Champion T-shirt. It's available right now at birdlandsports.com, along with other great player T-shirts, fun theme shirts for OSP fans. If you're a fan of the Birds, this is the spot for you. It started by a Birds fan in Josh Soroka, and the idea was looked around at the team store, and they wanted a lot of money, and they just didn't have anything that was a lot of fun. They were looking for fun shirts, and so birdlandsports.com is providing that. There's a cool Nick Vespi shirt that's like Vespi on a Vespa, and Nick Vespi was apparently rocking it this weekend down at spring training. That was really cool. There's the Hillbilly Hayes shirt. There's the Mountain shirt for Felix. This is the Gunnar Henderson with his hair flying everywhere shirt that's available right now. You can get them all, birdlandsports.com right now. Get your order in. You're a fan. Get some fun gear. It'll be there in plenty of time for opening day. You don't have any worry about that. And it's high-quality stuff. It's not going to fall apart, and the prices are better than the big guys. birdlandsports.com. Again, get your shirts today. Here's what's coming up tonight, totally tubular-wise. As Patrick Stevens mentioned earlier, Loyola opens Patriot League tournament play. They host Holy Cross at 7 o'clock on ESPN+. Also tonight, UMBC wraps up the regular season there at Binghamton at 7 o'clock, also on ESPN+. Maryland baseball, boy, it was starting so promising for them this weekend. They were playing at Ole Miss, the defending national champions. They won the first game. They were up in the second game, and then they blew a lead, and then they got romped in game 3. So that was tough. I mean, Ole Miss is really good. They actually, for some random reason, play Ole Miss again this weekend at a tournament in Minnesota. So they're going to play 4 games against the defending national champions.
Good, good practice.
I mean, it's definitely a good test. There's no doubt about that. Tonight, or this afternoon, they host Delaware at 4 o'clock on Big Ten Network Plus. If you have an MLB TV subscription, you can get, I think it's video or at least radio today for Orioles Pirates at 1 o'clock, but you got to have a subscription. Kyle Bradish and Luis Ortiz pitching in that one. Big Ten Hoops tonight, Iowa, Indiana at 7 on ESPN2. Big Ten Network, Michigan State, and Nebraska at 9. Of course, every Big Ten game relevant at this point because everybody's tied, and they have to figure out how they're going to sort it all out for the Big Ten tournament. Baseball, ESPN for Astros, Mets at 1. Reds, Dodgers at 3 on MLB Network. Red Sox, Marlins at 6:30. NBC Sports, Washington Wizards, Hawks, 7:30. TNT, Lakers, Grizzlies at 7:30. T-Wolves, Clippers at 10. ESPN Plus and Hulu for Blue Jackets, Sabres at 7:30. USA Network for WWE. NXT tonight at 8. Some non-sports highlights?
Well, since Prince Charles is here, Prince Harry's going to be on Stephen Colbert tonight.
Oh, is he going to reveal? I guess there's some controversy about whether or not they're going to go to the coronation for King Charles. That's a thing. It's a thing.
Tune in to Stephen Colbert.
I guess we'll get an answer, maybe. Who knows?
Willem Dafoe and Marlon Wayans will be on Jimmy Fallon.
That's it?
That's it.
That's it. Oh, boy.
Willem Dafoe's got a new movie. It's called Inside.
Great.
Psycho thriller.
That is
pretty
depressing.
Cool.
That is a very depressing list of
William
things
Dafoe.
that you just gave us. That is very depressing.
That is you're watching college basketball. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I guess I will be, sure. All right. Charles, you are on social at CharlesAP28.
On Instagram.
On Instagram specifically. There you go. Give him a follow there. Thanks today to everybody at Pressbox. I guess I got to thank the guests. Thanks to Joel Corry. Thanks to Patrick Stevens. We'll get those up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God. It's so good.
tab at glennclarkradio.com. Tomorrow, anything?
Lee Steinberg.
Oh, yes. Super agent Lee Steinberg, Patrick Mahomes' agent. We will get his thoughts on this Lamar Jackson conundrum.
It's Agent Week.
We saw that Deshaun Watson's agent was rooting for Lamar Jackson. I don't know where Lee Steinberg is with all of that. It's very interesting. We'll ask him how he feels about it. And that's it. Stuff and things.
Stuff and things. I guess Drew.
So,
maybe.
Good. Yeah, can't wait for that. All right, thanks to everybody at Pressbox, all of our great sponsors and partners, the Baltimore County Police Department, Problem Gambling, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Maryland Jockey Club, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com, and Birdland Sports. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass is how you follow him. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Tuesday evening. Go Loyola, go UMBC. Duke sucks.